Today's the day we've all been waiting for. It's Sunday at the new State Mobile Mashup, and tonight, 3 out of the 8 teams who remain will be punching their ticket to the grand finals, where they will compete for their share of $200,000 in prize pool. That's anybody's game, and what better proof than Vengeance's meteoric rise last night from 7th place to 1st place in just 2 games. We'll see if they can keep up that momentum because they've got a lot of competition in the round of 8. Not the least of which is Pure Love, who underperformed last night according to their usual standard. They did what they needed to do, though, and qualified for the round of 8 by taking 4th place in Group A. We also expect to see big things from SNE, who we saw look unstoppable in their round of 32 matches, and who cruised easily through Group B last night. Plus, we've got 3 teams we haven't seen before on streams, and anything can happen. 8 teams, 3 tickets to the grand finals up for grabs. This is the new State Mobile Mashup. Let's drop in. My name's Toffees, and it is both a pleasure and a privilege to be here with you guys for the final day of the first Open Qualifier for the new State Mobile Mashup. I'll be your Sherpa of sorts as we travel through the games today. And let's start by reminding everyone how we got here. It started with a round of 64, reduced to 32 all in one day. They played their way through to the top 16, where 2 lobbies ran last night to find the best 8 players in the Open Qualifier who will compete today. 3 spots are available for the top 3 teams to advance directly to the grand final, where they'll play for their share of $200,000 in prizes. It's a lot on the line, and because of that, I will not be giving you the guidance by myself. I've brought the best experts in Battle Royale here to help with the breakdowns, as well as Porosaurus. Glad to have you here, my friend.
How you doing, Toffees? I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to see these final 8 teams play, duke it out. Lots of good things for over the past couple of days from these guys. I think it's going to be a crazy, crazy lobby.
I'm hoping that it's a crazy lobby because, you know, you and I both love the absolute chaos of Battle Royale. And I'm going to lean on you to teach us a lot about New State today and a lot about these teams. But before we get into learning about what's going to happen today, maybe we should take a look back at the highlights.
There you go. Pure Love was purely on fire for most of these group stages, and finally this slowed down a little bit as we were getting to the end here, but the consistency that they showed all throughout the tournament so far has been phenomenal. I expect no less of them today.
Yeah, they seem resilient is a good way to describe it. M249 is a team that is resilient, but doesn't even have to be. They qualified on day 1 during the Influencer event with Winsanity, and they're still here. They're still putting up incredible games, and they're still on track to win this week.
Yeah, M249 is definitely one to keep your eye on, but if there's a story from yesterday, it's got to be Vengeance. You can see the ungodly numbers that they were putting up last game, and they've been playing with a very particular play style, Toffees, where they like to be aggressive. They lean into that revive mechanic as much as possible, and it's been paying off huge, huge dividends for them so far.
It really has. I think that they may be the first official meta setters. We'll see if the other teams embrace it today, as these guys have definitely leaned into start and be willing to risk it all sort of mentality. Their first 2 games were weak, and that's because they took a risk and went after early fights. And then the next 2 games, they won those fights instead of losing them, and all of a sudden they're in first place. It's absolutely wild how they're committed to this.
High risk, high reward, but you can see who is Karai from Vengeance. They're feeling pretty confident as they were talking to our production team earlier today. Said, I hope you enjoy watching us dominate today. Well, we'll see if they can deliver on that big confidence from who is Karai. But there's another big name team in the lobby, and that's going to be SNE. They've been consistent all the way throughout. They haven't, they've had some games where they fell off a little bit, but in the end of the day, they have just been finding the late game consistently and looking pretty damn good about it.
Yeah, they were uber strong on the first day we watched them. Then yesterday, they were in the lobby that we weren't observing, and we thought they'll keep doing them. And then when we saw the scoreboard, they were in 3rd, which was unexpected. So I'm curious to see today, now that they're back on stream, will they be in day 1 form or day 2? Let's take a look at the overall standings for Group A as of yesterday. Remember, the top 4 teams from each of our 2 lobbies advanced. Vengeance had 84 points. Poro, they started in 7th after the second game. They were in the second game in 7th place, and that's where they ended up. That's pretty crazy.
It's nuts. It's nuts. But you know what? That's when you say high risk, high reward. The reward is incredibly high if you can pull it off. Now, the question is, can Vengeance pull off that same high risk, high reward playstyle in this lobby, which is by all means going to be way tougher?
Well, let's take a look at the other lobby from yesterday. It was Group B. Now, this is the one that SNE was in, and we knew them, we saw them, we know that they've got skill. And then 3 teams who we have not had a chance to watch yet came in strong. Instinct, Raw Material, and Syntax both played very, very well. And I had the pleasure of sitting down a little bit earlier with Caveman from Syntax to find out more about their team. So glad to have you here. Let's jump right into it. So we haven't seen your team on stream yet. This is a new surprise for us. I'm excited about it. Tell the audience, and I guess myself, a little bit about the journey through the tournament so far. Any big highlights, or any times maybe you were nervous?
Oh yeah, I mean, we had a lot of moments. We've made a lot of mistakes. Oh man, it's been such a journey, with this team. It's a new team, and right now, each step of the way, we make mistakes, but I think what really makes our team stand out is we keep improving and keep plugging those holes and keep adapting, and we keep just cleaning up our overall game and our team chemistry. So everything's been going well. Last night I think our team was most nervous, and we had a really competitive lobby. The points were very close, and we came out with second place at the end at the last game, and that helped us clutch the top 4 to be in this tournament tonight.
Nice. So speaking of clutching and going forward, today's a pretty big one, and the top 8 seems to be very, very stacked. Now, there's 2 more open qualifiers to come. Do you think, what are your chances of this today being the qualified? Do you think you're going to be in the top 3 today?
I think it's a strong possibility. I know, like I said, it's a new team, so there's some things that need to be worked on, some things that need to be cleaned up. But regardless, I think it's possible we make it. And if we don't, we know there's 2 more. We know, it is definitely not the last time you'll be seeing us. You'll definitely be seeing us again. We'll just keep improving and keep bringing a more improved game each time, for sure.
What would it mean to you to have your team make the grand finals on the first week?
I mean, man, it would be such an accomplishment. Like right now, I'm nervous. I'm excited. So if we make it, I don't know. I might break my device by accident and have to get a new one. So, but it would be, it will speak volumes about the work, the amount of work we've done in such a short time. It just, we've worked a lot. We try to improve. On our layouts, our sensitivities, our map knowledge. Whatever we could do. The game is fairly new, so that it would just speak to that, and I'm hoping that's what would happen.
That's awesome. Now, I was told by my team when they chatted with you earlier that you're a professional pianist, you teach, you're sort of a master of your craft in that area. Do any of the skills, maybe finger dexterity or anything from your career with the piano, translate over to success in New State?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember playing video games and, before I started playing piano, and the piano definitely helps. It's just the finger independence you use, only the muscles you need. When you tense, you don't tense up as much. And, you're able to execute the mechanics that you need in the game a lot more consistently and fluently. You still make mistakes. I still potato, but, it definitely helps 100%.
Don't we all? Don't we all? Well, before I let you go, and that's been an amazing chat so far, but I know we got games coming up. I want to give you a chance to do any shout outs, or maybe even some trash talking if you feel so inspired. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm not a big trash talker. I would best of luck to all the teams. I see you out there. Don't shoot me, don't thirst me. If you can, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, definitely still competitive though. But shout out to my girlfriend who also plays the game, who goes by Cave Girl. And she's helped me improve my game. My family, my teammates, Jay White, E-Man, and Koba. It's great playing with them, and that's about it for shout outs.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us, Caveman, and good luck to you and the rest of Syntax as you guys take the field today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I want to give a shout out to Caveman for giving me ammunition next time my son complains about being forced to take piano lessons, because this is hands down the best argument I have ever seen. But guys, the games are about to get underway, so let's bring in the two gentlemen who will be calling it. It's going to be Mustache Dave and Matchroom, and then we're going to go over the rosters. Gentlemen, welcome. Excited to have you here. You know, let's dump the fanfare. Let's get right into the breakdown. The rosters for the teams who will be taking the field today. We have the big 8. I'm going to ask you to pick one and give me a little bit of why you want to watch them before we get into this. Mustache Dave?
All right. Hey, first of all, shout out to you boys on the desk. Looking forward to today. But to answer your question, Vengeance. Vengeance. And why? They're just better, Toffees.
Just better. I love it. I love it. Matcher, what do you got?
S&E team regularly impressed me with their capabilities and how they took things, specifically also very strong drone use. They had the lead in the lobby like you guys were talking about beforehand, and then something happened to cause them to slip. I'm very curious to see what's going on with them right now.
Yeah, I don't know if it's SNE or SNE, but all I can say is SNE is absolutely nuts. Poro, who's your pick?
It's got to be pure love, man. I think Vengeance is scary, but I don't think they're going to be able to play that same play style they've been getting away with for the last couple of days in this lobby. There's just too many strong teams here. Pure love is going to be the strongest one at the end of the day.
Nice. I'm going to go with Syntax because the idea of Caveman and Cave Girl, a duo inside of a squad that already have synergy together, it's going to be awesome. Let's see exactly how it goes. It's time to get game number 1 underway. Gentlemen, let's do this.
We are doing it, Matchroom. So you're looking at S&E today. I'm looking at Vengeance. Those two teams really strong. But we talked about this on the post show last night. Instinct. I don't think we had the opportunity to really watch this team on stream. So for me, this is like a big wild card coming into tonight's lobby.
Yeah, especially them and Raw Material, who did very well. Raw Material was also one of the teams that managed to climb up above S&E's position. So we haven't had a chance to really deep dive into them like you were talking about, Dave. But my curiosity is high and peaked on what's going on with them. I feel like to be able to have the capabilities to rise in similar fashion what we saw with Vengeance, to be able to just go, okay, rally, string together a whole bunch of stuff, and then just usurp a team with like a 20-point lead, that says a lot about those teams.
Low-key sleepers in the lobby. I am looking forward to it. Hey, last night's games, dude, we had hot drop after hot drop, and that's Vengeance. I'm talking about Vengeance. They're just better. And I talked to Spice from the squad, and they said, Dave, we're going to do the same thing tonight. So I'm just hoping they don't hot drop some of the teams, the call-outs that we picked here on the desk, because you guys are going to lose. I'm just saying. You're going to lose the Vengeance.
This is a spicy way to start it, to say the least. If you're saying the fact that you're going to commit into hot drops, that way you can get your currency up, you can just get that extra leg in and pick up those early points, that is such a double-edged sword. And while it worked in the last lobby, we're seeing an escalation of skill every single time we move up into this. And the top in this are going to go on to the grand finals. So we got some cream of the crop that we're looking at right now. And hot drops get a little bit more risky in this lobby, to say the least.
It does. But if there was one team that showed us they got it with the P19 straight out the gate, straight off the drop, Vengeance is the team. So let's get into match number 1. 8 teams. Top 3 go to grand finals. Not only that, first place 3,000, second place 2,000, third place 1,500 US dollars. So I was talking to M249 fan club, and we already mentioned they qualified for the grand finals. But they also told me, Dave, we want this money here tonight. So they're going to be performing to their best abilities here, Matchroom.
There are still so many things on the table for these teams, not just qualification, but as we've talked about several times and yesterday, just getting more experience, because the meta is still so loose. We're right at the cutting edge of what's going to be going on in New State. So missing out on some of that competition, I know Toffees has been talking about it quite a bit, and making sure that you play in every single one of these competitions so that way you can be constantly on the edge of whatever new thing and new development has happened.
Oh, look at that. Look at over here, just east of Mall. I'm counting 3 different teams right out the drop here. Very curious if they're going to end up fighting each other. SNE, the purple team, one of these teams, they are going to be out here on those outskirts looking for some loot before possibly taking this early fight here in game number 1.
Getting a little bit of separation. It's going to be Instinct as well as Pure. Instinct we haven't had a chance to look at a lot. It consists of Toxic, Sam, Mexican, and Maluma. And a very strong squad, all considered. But this is going to be kind of awkward. They're now right up next to SNE, and these are two teams that played in the same lobby against each other. So should be quite familiar with how each team is wanting to play. The team that neither one of them had much experience with, that was Pure, has already shifted very far away from this, specifically into the Northwest.
Yeah, Pure going to be pulling off, playing their tried and true strategy of just passive play here, early to mid game, just trying to survive. I like the call. Instincts, though, that's a team we are going to learn about here tonight, and I have to assume pretty quickly, just based off of their performance last night on the overall leaderboards, on how they take the fight, right? How do they handle team fights? And SNE right over this hill, well, that's a strong team to really showcase your abilities.
I also do want to point out, update, I know Dave and I were just talking about Vengeance wanting to go for some hot dropping. They did land right in the middle of everything, but nobody really wanted to play with them too much. So while they do have Anchorville to themselves, everybody else has kind of shifted away from the position. So we might have to see if something intersects here in a bit. With this recessed hillside, really SNE and Instinct not too prone to fight each other, but there is the capability that we might see somebody get picked off, or you can see that Sam was a little bit too close for comfort, so he's going to continue on his merry way and try to get a little bit more loot.
Yeah, Instinct's only 3 players here this game too, so I'm really curious how that's going to play a factor in their rotations and their ability to take these early team fights, at least in game number 1. Hopefully next game they'll have all 4 up, because it is an important night. And we're going to talk about it all night long. Top 3 go to grand finals, and grand finals, $200,000 worth of prizes are on the line. So this is a huge opportunity for all these aspiring pro players, essentially. And getting into Instincts, okay, Mexican out here looking for some early snipes.
Sam best be careful. Mexican already aware of where he is. I like this no overcommittal just quite yet. Has spotted him out 100%, but waiting to see if maybe he steps out in the open. Sure, you might be able to hit a shot on somebody in the windows, but okay, now he's starting to present himself too much. He's just like crouching and putting himself up there. Now, Sam, okay, what are you doing here? I think he's going to try to make a little bit of a reposition, and if he does, Mexican could get a couple of taps into him. But it's going to be a car 98 on the opposite side, so this could be a very fun peak battle between the two of them.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know if Sam is aware, right? Just based off of their movements, I don't know if they're aware that they're in the crosshairs of an enemy, and Sam is going to be out on that. Oh, now they're aware because they're getting shot, but Sam is not with their teammates. Yeah, that's what I was just going to point out here. Really separated from their squad. So we see kind of the downfall of that strategy is if you do get knocked, there's a high chance of you getting thirsted just because your teammates aren't close enough to provide that support.
I feel like that's a carryover from all 3 of those teams being stacked on top of each other. SNE did shift to the east, and it feels like maybe Sam just didn't have that same capabilities to rotate as well. So it was a kind of behind the game on that one. So once we did see Instinct finally finish up their looting process, started getting a little bit more information, voila, they've managed to spot out Sam.
It's all about that voila. You love it. You love to see it in Exhibit Hall. Nice place for some drone credits. We already heard one of these drones coming in here early on. And if I am SNE, losing Sam really early on, I believe they're IGL. I think with 2 minutes left, I would get a vehicle, go to Vermont, try to loot up Vermont, try to get as many drone credits as possible, and then get that green flare to call him back on that east side. That's definitely a possibility here.
I did want to point out we did see M249 in Exhibit Hall again. This is starting to look like that's going to be their primary drop. I feel like I would say about 80%. If we see Exhibit Hall in there, I want to say about 80 to 90% of the times we have seen M249 drop there, and it's got a lot of strength. And even if you do have somebody that hot drops alongside you, there's a lot of interesting positionals that you can play around there. So I can see one of the big merits to why they have such a heavy focus on that position.
Yeah, and just based off of the competitive zones that we've had this weekend, Exhibit Hall, there's a high chance that it's going to be in at least phase number 1. So if teams can already establish these designated drop spots in the lobby, that in its own is a huge win.
Looking at raw material here. I haven't had a chance to see too much out of them just quite yet. They were in the other lobby, and that's going to be Loki, Tyrekum, as well as Hope and Keneman. So there's I wanted to see how some of these teams are going to fight against each other, but that's one of the reasons why we're seeing a little bit slower of a start, everybody. Everybody's got a touch of nerves to themselves. Nobody wants to be the first team to go out. I talked about this a little bit yesterday. You want to make sure that you're keeping up your points per game very high, and right now, there's a lot of X factors for these teams. Sure, they know half of the lobby, but they don't know the other half. So that's kind of leading to a touch of hesitation. Nobody wants to overcommit into fights too early until they realize the strength of the teams around them and how they like to play. Because a team such as like Pure Love, they can be a big X factor. They can just drive up on you, or they can also play it a little bit safer.
Yeah, we see Cross out there doing a little scouting. Always the entry scouter for the teammates, trying to get that nice spot to call home. And then once when safe, they call their teammates to group up with them. And it works 9 out of 10 times. The one time it doesn't work, usually Cross gets picked apart first, and then we immediately see his teammates drive off in another direction. So the process is still working, but I think they can kind of tighten up and avoid that with some leapfrog scouting instead of just YOLO sending it like they have been.
Starting to see teams getting some firing lines against each other. Raw Materials position is quite high into this, so looking into the positional where we see Pure having made their rotation. Harassment's going to be able to come out, but this is a very centered position inside the circle. Starting to see several other rotations coming into play. Most notably, it's going to be our orange team coming up right into this one. That's going to be M249. Looks like they're opting into a pretty similar path and could be cutting right in between this. There's already the potential for a gauntlet, so have to be pretty careful in how they make their approach. Shots coming out from multiple angles, as it's all about trying to defend the center position. Most of the teams know and understand the value and strength there. So that's why we're starting to see some, I guess, excursions into this position to see if maybe something could be open.
M249 fan club just driving by with their convoy. Hope with the DP 6 times, trying to get that spray down. And I was talking to the players today, and one of the reasons they said that we don't tend to see those vehicle explosions as we're used to seeing in other competitive games is because in New State, when the car gets shot a lot, the first thing that happens is it catches fire. So while it catches fire, that gives the driver or passenger enough time to back out of that vehicle. So some of these pro players told me that it's just a waste of ammunition on those drive-bys, and I was very interested to kind of hear that directly from the pro players, because I know you and I have been questioning that over the last 2 days.
But you can still shoot people out of them one way or the other. I understand, like, vehicle explosions are one thing, but we've seen people be shot out of vehicles time and time again, so we know that there's the capabilities of that. I understand that vehicle explosions aren't as common, but if somebody presents themselves driving by, do it. And also, speaking of doing it, great shot coming out from Fang Yu.
And that's exactly what I told Matro. I said, listen, I don't care how many bullets it takes, get the free points, because they're free points driving by you. Just have the whole team just cover fire that one car, get the vehicle explosion, get the point. It's worth it. Trust me. That's what I told them. So we'll see. We'll see if they do that here today.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see that aggression mount a little bit more every single round. At the start of this, it's a lot calmer. Our rotation's now coming in for Vengeance, who I know a lot of people have their eyes on because they had themselves one hell of a run yesterday. Just phenomenal positioning, time and time again, finding themselves in great prime opportunities, specifically based off of wide flanks and using synergies between each other to make sure that they're securing multiple angles in fight upon fight.
Yeah, you got Crown, the IGL/P90 specialist, and Horror, we saw yesterday talk about that flank, is the key flanker. The team always runs a 3-1 split when they're looking to make these plays, and then Spice, a support player, and they told me that their main objective, their main goal is just to make sure that Crown is alive, the IGL. So it's kind of interesting to really get a deep dive on this team and their dynamics.
And now with them on their angle, you can see that they are using the rock for some cover, but no inherent pushes coming out yet. This would be any form of risk. This is right along the edge of the zone, so we might have to see Vengeance reposition. There's several different ways that they could opt into doing this. BIS, while they do have a lot of vision in what's going on, there are multiple ways that they could wrap. Specifically, if they wanted to go down to the south and the west is their easiest path. But with everybody being a center, there's not a lot of really good, clean real estate. Back really far to the south, Dave, there is, but nobody's going to want to wrap that for what would appear to be just a couple of shacks and some hills, right?
Yeah, wide open right there. So we might see some nice little sniper battles going back and forth, and really everybody in the zone for the time being. So they're all just kind of waiting to see where this next circle takes us and who will be forced to move out of their safety and comfort that they're currently holding down. But recall, Pure Love, their position is compromised. We can see out there on the high ground, looking right on top of them. That's going to be raw material. They were taking some shots at them a couple of moments ago. So if Pure Love have to move out of that compound, they're going to need to be aware of that.
New circle is just about to pop, and that's going to dictate where all of our action's going to go. And oh my God, Dave, it goes to where nobody is. This circle had just about every single aspect covered with different players. And it goes into that no man's land in the south that you circled just a second ago. So these rotations coming in from the north are going to be big. Even you're seeing there's nobody in a firm position in this. So specifically the teams in the south could find themselves heavily rewarded with much easier rotations. We're going to see a death funnel coming in from the top, as it's just going to be a cluster of these teams playing right up against the edge.
Yeah, so many teams, and we're already starting to see kind of the convoys from the different squads up here all kind of take the same pathway, and they're going to be rotating right into S&E, who are currently set up on the edge right there. So S&E in a prime position to get some elim points here based off of the zone.
M249 as well. Pure hasn't opted into a move and seeing if maybe they can connect some shots onto the rotating raw material. Doesn't look like they're going to have too clean of a sight line on that. So good read coming out from RM to get the rotation pretty clean, but that does mean that they're going to be coming in back behind Instinct that is to the southwest of the circle and already positioned. We're also, the east is just a cluster. The map, we should see it real quick just to see how all of the teams are moving through this, because it's getting to be a big problem. The rotations are kind of causing its own independent clog, and you can see that Pure doesn't have a good firing line onto what's happening right now.
And the funny thing is, because of the hard shift, all these teams assumed that there's not going to be anybody down here in the south, and that's where they're all heading, down there in the south. And we still have all teams still alive. This isn't something that we've seen in the last 2 days matchup. Every single team is still alive in this zone. Now we start to see the kill feed pop off. Hope knocked down and out.
Syntax in very close range. RM just kind of running amok through everything that's happening. The cluster in the west is where so much of the action is starting to brew, and you can see teams are trying to find some rotation path into what's going on. BIS does have themselves a controlled position, but with the way that the angles and everything are playing out right now, it looks like it's finally starting to settle down just enough to maybe make it time for a couple of resets, maybe a few reses as well.
BIS are just getting
maybe
sniped.
not.
Yeah, they're getting sniped from multiple teams. They are sandwiched right here in the south. We see some smokes. They have a vehicle. They have a bowler to work with, but I believe they already lost 2 in the process. So not looking good for BIS.
Yeah, they're right along the edge of the zone, taking this much damage as well. There's high likelihood that they're going to have to make a secondary rotation. And Syntax is feeling a lot better in position. Everybody else is playing edge except for them at the time, and that's why we've got a lot of focus on the west and all of these teams that do have kind of a leapfrog style vision onto each other. If we see some type of rotation that has to kick off in a minute, that's where we're going to start to see it really start to take off. Instinct does continue their harassment into BIS. I don't even know what they do at this stage. They had no options in rotation, had to stop, and there's just so many teams that are looking at them right now.
Yeah, and pretty impressive instincts, not playing passive, not turtling up, even though they are down a team member. They already have 2 elim points on the board, so they are definitely being proactive. And SNE over here on the edge, I do like their position. They have one of these guard towers, and we mentioned yesterday these guard towers have little lockers that have weapons in them. You might luck out, catch a P90, but Pure Love over here pushing up just a little bit. But look who is right across the way, Vengeance. And I believe Vengeance might have spotted this push from Pure Love.
Much quieter Vengeance than we've been seeing. The team that was very active in the early stages, now leaning in a little bit more to their control factors that they're trying to play from, getting the vision of what's happening. They've got themselves a pretty decent position in the circle, all considered. It's really them and Syntax. Everybody else is going to have to make a move. There are a lot of hills in this that could provide, I guess, different coordinated areas that you can hold down. But we're at a stage you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to try to make sure to keep people from encroaching on your areas. And Pure, I'd have to say, is the most gate camp out of anyone right now.
Yeah, Syntax right there, dead center, have so many sight lines, but also they're going to have a lot of eyes looking at them on top of this hill, Matchroom. So they need to be cautious. And yeah, look at those eyes. Yeah, look at those eyes. We see them looking at them, but Koba is just connecting these AWM shots.
All right, Syntax, I'm witnessing. I'm enjoying everything I am seeing. These guys have center of the circle, and this is how you do it. Get control over all the territory around you. Nobody gets to peek. Nobody gets to move. They all have to hunker down and fight amongst themselves. And I love the fact that we're seeing them lean in to the bolts and know the fact that they can hit those shots.
Yeah, and what I love even more is just looking at their vehicle placement. They know for a fact there's a team in the south, so they're placing these vehicles to block those sight lines and create some cover.
Dave, you're telling me that playing the hills instead of leading into compound to get in better position like we were talking about yesterday has massive merit. Who would have thought?
Let's see. SNE, though. Matchroom. SNE, 4 teammates packed in a vehicle, looking to drive right on top of Instinct.
I love this. Instinct instantly repositions away from it. We've got Syntax that does have a high ground position as well. Throwable should start to come out. The south is going to be the cluster, as it also does look like we have M249 that's looking upon a similar path. Syntax going to go ahead and also go for a res at this stage.
Questionable.
That's ballsy, to say the least.
They are dead center, so you have to assume everybody's going to be looking at that parachute flare dropping in from the sky. But look at this, Koba with the deployable shield. Okay.
Use the utility. I love it. And this might just be a distraction. You know, calling in a teammate and saying, all right, you're going to eat some bullets for us for just a second. Looks like Syntax is going to be able to shoot them away, but M249 doing the rotation is going to be able to use the low ground, use the hills. And I love this. Look at the map knowledge coming out from M249 right now. Positioning away, then rolling into a lower ground, but that does put them much, much closer to SNE. And again, it's the south. It's all clustered up. We got 3 different teams that are over there. SNE, M249, and Instinct all up on top of each other. And yet again, Syntax is going to find themselves with the circle.
They are, but look at that. M249 are in a wooden shack. That thing can be destroyed by a vehicle, and they're all stacked in there. So if SNE can recognize that, they might send one of their players to just go get them. But they're currently being pinned down from Instinct, so that might be why they are a little hesitant.
Raw materials and Burning in Silence are both out at this stage. Tiny circle with, we can see Syntax starting to get more control, as well as Pure Love, who are still alive. Other teams are going to have to fight their way through. M249 trying to find some opportunity, but the firing angles coming up from Syntax are just so strong. They still have SNE that's pretty close to this, so the covering fire coming up from Syntax is going to open up the opportunity for SNE if they want to take it. But it looks like SNE is afraid to move into that open ground for the exact same reason that M249 is. That's just so well covered. They know if the fact that they try to go for this, they could potentially die. But let's be real. There's a very decent chance that SNE is going to die just trying to approach the circle as is.
Yeah, that's why I think SNE should try to take that fight down there in the south, get those elim points before moving forward. Because if they concentrate on the zone, they're just going to get backstabbed.
Comes the fight breaking out on the top of the hillside. Spicy looking into everything that Pure is trying to breathe. This is very close range. Cresting up the hillside, you can see still it's Syntax that's refereeing so much of the fights that are going on around the Spicy. Realize the fact that there's so many threats in front of him, but really can't make the moves that he wants to. Crown up in the front of everything. Pandy, it's just a peak battle back and forth around this rock.
patience is key here. Just trying to get as much intel as possible before making the play. But talk about make the play horror. Once again, going for that off-angle flank. Will it work out here? Because Syntax, they do have the sight lines on them. So once when they let that vector just rip, their position is going to be compromised.
Everybody is now in the west. The hillsides, in the way that they have the lay of the land is set up. You can see lots of teams stacked all over Syntax's position. So they're going to have to make some moves around what's going on, and that's exactly what they're trying to execute right now. They've had the high ground advantage for quite a while and the firing lanes. So now trying to play in control of that low ground position right next to them. And again, we're starting to see a lot of the familiar teams that we were talking about that we had high expectation making it into this end game.
And look at this, Syntax, just talk about getting the zones, that next circle right to the east side of them. If they can control that, they are definitely going to be getting the win here. As now it's up to Vengeance. What are they going to do? How are they going to push Pure Love off this cliff?
It's now starting to come out. Throwables on both sides. Pandy trying to weather the storm of things being thrown at him. Going to hop into a vehicle and try to use that for a reposition. The circle is kind of in an awkward spot for all of the teams, so I like to see if maybe you can get a little bit closer. Pure Cross already trying to hold that one out, but it's going to be Syntax still using position, but it's going to be cross shots going between them. Double knock on both sides of this, and now Spicy is running amok in everything that's happening. Looking through, it's now Vengeance and Pure lined up against each other, and Spicy moving forward. It's going to be control angles coming out from everything from Vengeance. They've got the circle. It's going to be on the opposite side. Pure Love has got to make the move in. Wolves coming out on the other side. Just try to dodge the bullets as they're coming out.
Ooh, Spicy looking to toss the smoke, looking to make this push. They do have a barrel and an AKM. Here comes a huge grenade. Oh, but getting caught in the open, trying to toss it, Matchup. Oh, but they landed it. And Spicy with the follow-up spray down to get the first win.
It's just tried and true at this point, Dave. 20 points coming up in a phenomenal turn. Vengeance, these guys are so good. And again, time and time again, it's flank positions. You can see it. Right, does go down, but draws enough attention and gets the throwable. That's kind of unlucky to pull the throwable and then get knocked, but does manage to get it out of his hands and right up on top of wall. Or cross, I'm sorry.
I'm just soaking it in. I am just soaking it in. I thought that grenade. Oh, baby. Let's go, Vengeance! Oh, all I gotta say, they're just better. That's what I told Toffees. They're just better.
I do want to point out, though, that we did see Syntax prove the fact that they know how to play. The problem is they had I would say, a bountiful amount of targets that were all around them, and trying to focus fire and take control over that many different things whenever nobody was really fighting amongst each other for the longest time. They just were trying to find some way to sneak into the circle, made it to where while they were controlling for quite a while, they then got the counter aggression thrown back at them as everybody was like, hey, you've been harassing us for like 2 minutes. Now we're going to take it back to you.
And don't forget, we had a quote from Vengeance. They said, hey, ladies and gentlemen, just watch. Watch and we shall show you. Here it is. I hope you enjoy watching us dominate. And I quote, this is from Vengeance themselves. Talk about the confidence here, Matrim.
You love to see it. These guys are absolutely at the top of their game, and they know coming into this. We talked about it a lot. You were talking about it, Dave. Momentum. You feel like it's so important to Battle Royales. Poro today was talking about momentum. Time and time again, you can see that these guys come in with the right mindset, means the fact that you feel you can win the play, and guess what? You're now the proactive team time and time again, which does give you the advantage in so many fights.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is only game number 1. We're going to send to a quick break, and then Toffees and Poro coming up next.
Game 1 is done, and Vengeance is keeping their promises. They said that they would come out strong and we'd enjoy watching it, and that was not a lie, as they won the last one in style. There's no better way to win than making all of us go, whoa, and that's what we did. So let's take a look back at how our faces ended up like that with the highlights.
Highlights, indeed. There were a lot of them to be found here, Toffees, and you said it. Vengeance. It was a little bit of a slow early game. They didn't do the hot drop into battles like they've kind of been doing, but this time around it was just edge control, and then at the very end, playing that high ground that STX was doing such a good job of defending, but in the end it was just a little bit too much.
It almost honestly felt like Syntax was sort of holding, like keeping the seat warm to a certain extent. Like Vengeance was in a battle off with Pure Love, and they're like, oh, we want that hill now, and then just kind of came over and took it. But STX, Syntax, we talked to them earlier today. You just saw them go down, but they put up a good fight. They went late into the game, and this is where we see sort of the end battle. As honestly, for what felt like Pure versus Vengeance was sort of the build-up we were all waiting for, and then that ending, oh, so hot, so hot.
It was a very nice push from Who Is Karai to kind of set his man Spicy up for that win, but in the end, yeah, it was Pure Love just getting kind of stuck out in the blue. But There you go, Vengeance, 10 eliminations to go along with the placement points to give themselves 20 points and start off the day in a heck of a fashion.
You know, a long time ago, and remember, different generation, my dad said, don't ever fight, but if you do, beat them so badly they don't want to stand back up. And I feel like Vengeance kind of lives by this philosophy, because when they win, it is massive. It sends a message. I mean, that time with the sacrifice grenade play was just epically cool to watch. They sent a message. Now, if you guys at home are trying to learn to be better so you can stand up to a team like Vengeance, that's why we've got Poro here. He's our resident expert, and I want to send you over to a brand new segment to teach you a little more called A New State of Mind.
Yes, indeed. We are here to tell you just how to be like Vengeance. One of the ways you can do that is with a weapon customization. Now you can see all the facts and figures there on the right side. But the important thing to know is that around the map, you'll find those weapon customization kits. Now, each kit will have different impacts and different effects for each weapon that you put it on. For example, you can find yourself a rail for the AK, which allows you to put that horizontal grip or that vertical grip on there to be able to control your recoil a little bit better. Or you can even find an additional a magazine for the SCAR to give yourself a higher bullet count. Now, each one of these effects will come with a negative drawback as well, but finding a way to master those drawbacks while using the goodness that you get from these weapon customization kits is the key to victory, the key to being just like Vengeance.
And to be just like Vengeance, you have to take a risk. You have to get in the game, and you can by heading over and signing up right now. We have 2 more influencer events in the next 2 weeks, as well as 2 more open qualifiers where you and anybody you know can sign up and have your chance to win some cash. It was an awesome way to see it. And honestly, if I can give a takeaway, because I'm just going to do that to help you at home, Poro nailed it, right? Get to know the right balance. Do it on day 1, okay? There's a temptation where you're like, I'm too scared to take the time to go through the customizations and figure out what everything does. You know what? If you die to the early game, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect your ranking. So start by learning and then execute. All right, let's bring in 2 guys. They know how to execute. They're probably the best of the best. It is Mustache Dave and Matchroom coming on board. Great job on game number 1, gentlemen. Let me get your quick tape, Matchroom. After watching that match, what's your biggest takeaway?
Vengeance hot. That's it. Still good. They're so good. That's about the only thing you can say. Also, Syntax very well played for quite a while until suddenly it wasn't.
Right? And that's crazy to me because it was. We were watching Pure versus Vengeance back and forth, some really cool shots. And Syntax, Poro brought it up. You were like, man, these guys are in a great spot. Good for them. And then all of a sudden, Vengeance had killed them, Dave. I don't even understand what happened.
They're just good. We're going to keep talking about them all day. They're just good. This is a team. Listen, Toffees, this is a team. I was talking to Spice. They told me the whole team, they met playing New State. And since they met in preseason, they have been grinding every single day for 8 hours a day. This is from their mouth. So if you're playing 8 hours a day, you got to be good at this point in the game. And it's showing here in the tournament.
I mean, their comms are on point. You saw that. Spicy smoked himself behind the tree and took cover, while Karai went off to a flank position and threw a grenade knowing they'd have to come out of the blue. It was geniusly executed, and I can't wait to see what they have next. Gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over to you because it's time. Okay, you know what? Let's just wait. Let's talk more because, hey, there he is.
Hey, there we go.
Bro?
Hey!
Welcome back.
Vengeance got him.
I had some different things I needed to check out. It's fine. It's fine.
I didn't realize the predictions was a bet. You know, if Dave wins, that he just does a solo cast for the rest of the day.
Well, now that Matt's back, the game is starting. Me and Poro, well, we're out of here.
Back in it. Game number 2, Matchroom. Things are looking pretty good. Now, Syntex, they had some phenomenal positioning this last game, but I think that spot on top of that cliff was just so centralized that a lot of eyes were pointing in their direction, and it was really the thorn in their side.
Well, that hillside provided a lot of merit, most notably on the fact that you could get control over the low ground to the southeast. But there was a lot of firefighting happening on the western side of the hill, and they committed a lot of their defenses to make sure that that long-range open area, we saw them put down the shields, their cars were over there. Once the fights ended on the other angles, suddenly their back flanks were very, very vulnerable.
And then it was a GG because Vengeance caught a whiff that that spot was open for the taking, and they took it. They took it. But getting into game number 2 here of the new State Mobile Mashup. Open Qualifiers Week 1. You'll love to see it. Top 3 go to Grand Finals, and they get some cash money to go with it. Now, BIS, I want to point this out really quickly because I was watching the VODs from day 1 and day 2. Port was open. Every single time Port was in play, it was open. So I like to see BIS going over here. But over here, though, on the right-hand side, Pier. Oh, who's that? That's Raw Material.
Raw Material, yeah. This has gotten a little bit more, I guess, underhanded than they were hoping to have happen to them. We've got a lot of sporadic positioning coming into play right now. So you can see that a lot of the movements are coming out just to try to regroup and figure out where the positionings are at. Now, you can see everybody that is on Pure is definitely trying to lean into power in numbers, finding the angles into it, and yep, just double up follows. I love the teamwork that comes out, and specifically how they are not afraid to scrap early and get control of these territories.
Raw Material, raw points, early game, out the air right there for Pure Love. Already 3 limb points in the first couple minutes of the match. That's going to set them up pretty well moving forward. And they have a nice position, too. They have a nice position. And talking about positions, SNE. I like how they went to Chester because Chester has a police station. And in that police station, there is a weapons locker. And sometimes it could drop a P90, and in my opinion, Matchroom, the P90, hands down the best weapon in the game. So if you can get that right off the drop, I have to expect they're going to go for some early engagements.
The P90 just has so many upsides, and you talked about it a lot with the capabilities to use the drone points to call in more ammo. So even whenever you just want to let it rip and just tear into a team, you can feel fine with it. That's usually your handicap, right? Is you don't want to burn out ammo in these phenomenal guns. But in BR Extreme, you can just go to town, man. You can just, if you see a team, you can just line up into them. And as time and time again, we've seen coming out from Crown, that has been his preferred weapon of choice, and for good reason.
Yeah, and you know what? Vengeance, they didn't even need Crown with the P90 last game to win. So that's what's so impressive to me, right? That they didn't even need that P90. I'm just picturing, because there is a possibility of a team just getting goated out with P90s. All you got to do is call in a couple red flares, and you can get that. A whole team with P90s, and you can get the ammunition for the P90s using the drone credits as well. A whole team with P90s, to me, nothing is stopping that team. Nothing at all. I mean, I don't know if you could tell, but I'm totally biased towards that weapon because every time I use that weapon in solos, I win, Matchroom. I get the win. So it's hard to go against it. And then
the only thing I can say is pray that your team has some bolties and can hit the shots on it, because that's about the only way. If they get close to you, that is game over.
Yep, you're done. You're done, son. You're done. And SNE, look at that, though, Matchroom. 3-1 split. I don't know. What was it? We saw Sam last game with the 3-1 split from SNE. Now it looks like Razzie is going to be separated from the team. I'm looking at the distance between the two. there's a nice little gap. So if Razzie is going to be spotted, kind of similar to what we saw last game from Sam, you have to assume they're going to be thirsted. So what's your take on this early game 3-1 split in this lobby?
I do like getting control over the hillside. Let your teammates finish out their looting. Just go ahead, scout it out, say, okay, kind of plant the flag and say, we're going to be coming into this position. Now the rest of your team can have a couple of more moments. So Razzie is going to not be as looted, but that could also be one of the reasons why we keep seeing their scouting change. It could just be whoever's most comfortable at that stage now making that rotation. The issue that I have is Hope is just going to have to pray that nobody comes to any of the locations that he is at, because he's just going for safety rat points right now. And that's about the only option that's available. Everywhere else with good loot has been taken. So there's no chance of getting the coupons up to, or the amount of money and the economy up to be able to get his teammates back.
Dude wishes they have a coupon, right? Because that would help him. That would help him right now, being that solo from raw material. And they are in a off-center position, so there is a high chance that these zones will at least continue to favor them somewhat here. The problem with that, though, we saw in match number 1, it was mid to late game. We still had all the teams alive. That's the problem. If you're a solo, you can't really bet on the fact that you could survive a little longer than your enemies, just because the lobby, they love just playing for that long game.
Well, we're also at a stage now where we're getting the best of the best in this lobby. And when you get the best of the best playing a Battle Royale, surprise, surprise, they're really good at surviving in adverse situations. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another circle condense, and that's finally where we're going to start to see the big firefights. Luckily, with BR Extreme, these early stages are very sped up, so we're going to be getting the action pretty quickly. But hey, I don't know, maybe you could be driving into the wrong location if your syntax and maybe getting just a touch too close to M249. Got to be cautious with that one. Yep. Okay, good idea. Just go ahead and send it down the road instead. The exhibit hall is definitely at this stage, everybody should know.
And then BIS too. Look at that. They got Cry in the front line. Santhy, they're driving around looking for a position for the time being. A lot of teams right now just looking for a spot over here on that off center. Might have that early action.
Though.
Yeah,
with
we're
Santy's
about
position,
to clash.
This might lead to a chaotic reposition coming out on opposite sides, and this is what I was afraid of, because now with that little bit of a mashup with vehicles, Hope is finding himself with potentially too many problems. Like this, just go ahead and throw out a nade. Say, go away. We don't want you here.
I think Hope watched that grenade get the win last game, hoping that will be the same this game. I don't think so. I do like that Hope is, taking some shots, trying to make sure that nobody crashes their compound. What pro players usually do in this situation as well is they might take some shots with one weapon, swap to another, so it sounds like there's more players than just one as well. So it's kind of like a big brain play that Hope might be able to utilize here.
Oh, a bait and switch on this circle. We do a hard shift up to the northeast. Exhibit hall still in play. You can see M249 in movement, like, hey, wait a minute, do we go back or do we just get control here? It looks like that dividing road that they're going to be close to is going to be a big factor. But to the south, look at this cluster. We've got SNE, Pure, all coming up next to each other. Vengeance possibly could be coming along this line. So many teams are popping into this one, and poor old Hope is going to have a ton of teams that are going to try to take his location.
I want to highlight this position that I just circled in the middle. There's a lot of tree branches, a lot of down trees, a lot of boulder, a lot of water. That driving through that zone is very difficult. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see players utilize it here.
I don't think that they stopped. He's just getting a lot of traffic next to him, and this is so nerve-wracking. When all of his team's hopes rest on him, he's aptly named, to say the least, and this is just so nerve-wracking. He hears car upon car, doesn't know where he hears them stop, hit a rock or a tree, and now he has to make sure that they're not coming after him. Just take some shots at him. Yeah. Oh, nope. Does look like he is going to end up with some company, and that was a full-on clown car to boot.
Cooking a grenade, tossing that grenade, not far enough, but that is definitely going to alert instincts that there's at least one enemy here. Looks like Hope going to be popping in the vehicle, going for that full-on retreat mode, pedal to the metal.
Great prep on the car. Great prep
it.
on that car. That was safely covered, and then hops in and gets out of there. And now just find a dip. Don't go for another compound, Hope. Just stop somewhere. I like how
See 'em
they're
looking.
on the hunt.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else
Yeah,
here?
they're looking.
Is
Yeah,
just
they're
one?
looking. They're gone. They are gone. So GG to Hope right there, honestly. That was a nice play. That backup plan was huge.
There is a certain skill in just being able to stay alive. I know it's not as valiant as making a last stand and trying to get a kill point, but just trying to find ways to keep yourself alive and maybe going for those placement points could be big. And Hope very regularly is finding a way to get in the center, or pretty center of the safe zone, which gives him a greater opportunity being in the next circle. We do have the raid boss of Vengeance now making the approach into the zone as well, though, Dave.
Yeah, and it looked like Hope did end up in that no man's land. I was just talking about that swampy area with the water, the tree branches, the boulders, and that could play in their benefit. Oh, Cry though with the headshot. That could play in their benefit because not a lot of teams are going to use that area to rotate through.
Whenever we're looking at this, I mean, you got to be careful with what you're going to peak battles against, right? I mean, it's if you're going to take bolties up against it, like a rifle at that range, you got to make sure you're not over peaking it. And that's the inherent risk now, since they have been knocked and they're pretty sure that's coming out from bolty. They have to make sure that they're feeding that information. Now their teams cannot hard peak with each other.
Meanwhile, Sam out here just enjoying the flowers, just taking a sip of some energy boost and enjoying life. Enjoying life. Momentum
stopped. We told you guys this next circle is going to be kind of slow. It's whenever it's going to be collapsing in just a few moments. RM, the only casualties that have come in so far into anything that has been going on. I do want to point out we see BIS that's holding, I think, a 3-1 at the time, and the only team that's really got a lot of separation. All the other ones pretty much leaning into the value of strength in numbers.
Oh, look at that. Spicy with the SLR connected on a Sam out here. Now, these are just long-range shots. I don't expect any team to get a knock and full send it right now. There's no reason to, because they have nice positions in this circle. But it is something to note that it is going to be taking away that durability of their helmets, of their body armor. And that will definitely play a factor moving forward.
Always about the war of attrition. The more you can burn off of somebody for these later game stage fights, the better it's going to be. So that's where a lot of these bullet exchanges are. And yes, even if you get 2 knocks, I would say don't be surprised. Nobody's going to push it because there's too many different firing angles from other teams. If you jumped in there trying to go after 2, there's a pretty decent chance you could lose 2 of your own just trying to secure those 2 kill points.
Yes, sir. So everybody just kind of waiting to see where this next circle goes. M249 fan club just called in a crate out here. Going to be able to acquire AWM. Nice little sniper rifle over there. And Syntex, we saw last game, solid positioning all game long. Looks like this game they're going to be playing out there on that east side. Caveman, we heard a nice interview from them between him and Toffees. Always love to kind of hear the insights from the players themselves. And they're looking to qualify here tonight, Matchroom. Top 3. So let's see what they could do.
Feeling really good about it so far. Circle has popped, favors BIS. We got a sloping hillside into the flower fields, so minimal cover to be working with. Here it looks like they're going to make an early run to try to get that high ground advantage. You can see Vengeance always with the map awareness says there is nothing good in this circle. Let's go now. We have got to get in this fast and get the territories that we think are the strongest to get us a key to victory. And it looks like they're going right along the angle. They want BIS's position. And with this split, with Voxel all by himself, he could potentially provide a touch of covering fire, but that means the fact that the numbers advantage is going to be straight up on Vengeance to come. And Vengeance loves a good firefight. 2 members down on one side of it. Vengeance only have 1 member down. And now the push is going to continue. Keep in mind, Voxel cannot move. M249 has already come up back behind him, so it is now just a matter of hunting down the last one, making the push up that hillside, and Voxel trying to position to see if maybe he can get a knock into somebody to give a bit of a reprieve.
Yeah, and Spicy kind of got pushed off on that rotate, so they're not going to be able to support the team up close and personal. They are going to be getting held down from instincts in the back line here.
More sins coming along this angle. It's just everybody trying to find somewhere that they can stop at for the time being. They hear the firefights. Nobody is wanting to come along this line, but they do want to stop to see if maybe they can get close enough to go for reses. Maybe getting some shots in as anything that's going to be going through. BIS Santi is down, and BIS has pretty much just had to surrender this. Voxel, the last one up, living that same life as Hope now.
Yeah, Voxel probably not going to take any shots here, give away their position. They're looking for these placement points. So that was Vengeance able to successfully take over the BIS compound. They are going to be able to get the pickup on their teammate and continue moving forward with a really strong position in this new circle.
I really like this spot from M249 playing along the turn in on the hill. So you have a couple of options to play. You can move back up the road and get to the top of the hill if you need to, but you also have a little bit more of a fortified, safer position than some of these other teams that are more leaning into the flower fields itself. We can see SNE starting to do a little bit of a closer move into what's going on with Syntax's as well as Vengeance's positions.
Yeah, and Spicy can't move. Spicy, like we talked about, pinned down from Instinct. So if Vengeance get crashed on from another team to overtake their compound, Spicy cannot move, cannot provide that support for their teammates. So something to note. And look at that, Voxel, just chilling, dude. He doesn't want to move.
He's praying Syntax hits the shots of their life to protect him right now.
Yeah, they're going to be able to kind of play that guardian angel role almost, as long as they don't hear him, as long as they don't move and hear him.
Rip tires all around what's going on in Syntax's position. A lot that could be had. Oops.
Oh, well, they only lost one, thankfully, for Syntax. And depending on their drone credits, we saw last game, they called in a teammate very late into the match. So they might attempt to do that here again.
Everything went nuts at that stage. Hey, look, free delivery of drone stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that just got yoinked.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm pretty sure they just
gonna
yoinked
deliver
it.
things to us. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, look at that. Horror going over there for the pickup on Spicy and immediately driving back. Wow.
No
Instincts.
man behind.
Yeah, Instincts letting a point kind of slip underneath them right there.
There's no good that's coming out of it. Most teams, I would say, are hoping for more of a centered, and it's going to be off-center to the east. Lots of the flowers are in play. Lots of that hillside, Dave.
That right here, that's the spot. That's if I'm not in the zone, I'm going right there underneath that bridge. You have to assume your back is going to be covered. So Hope, that is a huge circle shift for Hope when we're looking at this player just to survive.
I mean, Voxel is not even going to have to move too much as well as Hope. So that could be important. I do have to say that Voxel's in a little bit better of a situation as Syntax is going to be protecting him. Hope's kind of by himself. I wouldn't be surprised if we see M249 do a long wrap around the north, maybe even here as well. SNE is the X factor for me, Dave. I have no idea how they're going to rotate into this. I'm guessing maybe SNE can wrap to the south and maybe try to push around where Instinct's at.
Yeah, the thing is,
that's about the only option we got.
You can't drive to here. You get slowed down so much from that water. So that pathway is not even in the playbook here. And that's why we see M249 pushing on top of SNE.
I realize the fact that this is going to go rough. Just go ahead and take the fight. See if maybe you can get some kill points out of it, because anything after that's going to be gravy, because you know that you're pretty screwed. There's no easy path into the circle for you. Jason, point man up. M249 prepping up some nades. It's nothing really connected yet, but look, all of these explosions going on, it's drawing some attention. Folks have gone down on both sides to try to protect a little bit more of their flanks. Nobody can get angles in what's happening. While this is going on, Pure does collapse into the north just a little bit more, getting that high ground position. Now, M249 might be feeling the fact that there's no rotation into this. There's no push factor. Instead, they're going to start leaning into the hillside. And I like that, because the fact that nothing was working for them. That also does open up the rotation for SNE. Now, where are they going?
You know where they're going. Right towards Vengeance, baby. Right towards Vengeance, who are holding it down. Let's see who's going to come out on top of this compound crash match room.
This is a fight that I wanted to see so bad yesterday, as they were separated into two different lobbies. Vengeance on the hunt for what is now encroached onto them. Sam's got himself a weapon for pushing, but it's going to be shots that come in from range. It's going to be Instinct that gets it opened up onto Spicy. So this is going to make it a more complicated fight for the defenders. Nade blows up right in the face of another. Just 2 members up for Vengeance, who had themselves a phenomenal game. SNE, we were talking about these guys can take buildings. They are technical in their approach. And you can see Vengeance is unrelenting in their defense, but just cannot find a way to rally up.
Yeah, look at that. Instincts in the South, they're just third party in this fight, not really making it easy for either team to maneuver around this compound.
And you have to acknowledge, on the outside, that means that Vengeance had a little bit of assistance on this defense because SNE had to cross through multiple firing angles, and yep, there you go, because of the fact that there's so many teams that can see them. Instinct, most notably. Dave, the circle has now popped. No one's in it.
It's rough. It is rough. It is rough. Crown. Uh-oh, the ricochet grenade! It's good!
Banks it off the wall. Vengeance never dies. They never give it up. They can win the fight. Stepping through it just sprays them down. They are so good. These guys just never give up.
They're gaming. They are gaming. And you know what? Spice told me that they got gaming chairs, and that's why they're doing so well. And I was like, I didn't know. That's the secret. The gaming chair.
See, I always go sit on the couch whenever I'm doing that. That's my thing. M249 getting some Vengeance onto Vengeance right now. So getting some shots. Pure looks like they're going to be sending it around the angle. So fights that are going on right now. Vengeance M249 was going to sleep shot. You see no cover. 4 on Hope still alive. Maybe a hay bale to work around, and M249 picking fights with 2 different teams to try to make some type of crossing, but I think they've got a little bit of a recess to help. They can play right here that is in zone. They just have got to get rid of the team that is right next to them in Pure Love.
Yeah, and Hope was taken out right there, playing a really risky game, but M249, aka Tommy Gun Spray, up close and personal, Pandy down.
Just runs by the smoke. Not a care in the world. Spotting out
another one.
On the jump.
Another one.
Just wrecking them. Walking through this. This is going to give them so much control of the circle. They have managed to rally this one together, and now everybody to the south of them is going to have a much bigger contest to work around. Going to be finishing off. It's going to be yet again the third-party powerhouse in Instinct.
Wow. Yeah, Instincts. They've been doing really good, playing it nice and slow, keeping all their teammates alive. Now they have a nice little spread down here to the south, and they have a nice read on at least where Crown should be, because I believe they took out Crown's 2 teammates. But M249, Matchroom, still being up late game after that one push. I don't know. It's going to be a challenge for Instincts to come out on top with them still alive.
The circle has popped, and Maluma is pretty close to it, as well as Crown. M249 is going to have to make a harder push. That's why smokes are now starting to come out. I like the fact that they're tossing them very right up into the base of Instinct to see if maybe that gives them a little bit more opportunity. You have this temptation to drop smokes right at your own feet, but then you end up using way more of them. See, tossing them out way over here is negating way more vicious. Crown is like, hey, thanks guys for that smoke, but still going to get spotted out by Sleep.
I didn't see him in that ghillie suit. I don't know how they saw him. But Jason with the DP.
Ghillie suits don't work in flowers, I guess.
Jason and Kitty Cat trying to hit these arm shots. Okay. Okay. M249, let's go.
Going for the peeks around. They've got close range into this one. Good picks up on both sides of it, and now it is just one. They had to run across the opening, and they made that look easy. Congratulations, M249, for picking that one up.
And picking it up with the final blow being with an M249. You got to give it to them, living up to their name here. They literally made their team name based off the fact that all of them, they prefer the M249. I think it's the best weapon in the game. I was arguing with them earlier on today about the P90. So, hey, I like to see them showing up here, Matchroom, getting this win in game number 2.
The M249 just feels so good to you. Like, you're making me pick between my 2 favorite children right now, Dave. I love the P90, but the M249 is also, there's something about the sound it makes whenever you just unleash on somebody.
I still say P90 all day, though, because it is suppressed. So me, I don't have the best aim, so at least I have a couple suppressed shots to really get that tracking down on point right there. And they also told me if you are in game and you get the custom kit for the M249, you always want to get the extended mag versus the shield That's straight from the pros. So some pro advice right there for you. But M249 versus Vengeance, these two teams, they have to be going back and forth on this leaderboard. And I know we only played 2 matches, but the 2 matches so far have been pretty exciting.
And this is just a carryover from the games that we were watching yesterday. M249 had themselves some powerhouse games, and they're definitely something to keep an eye on. Vengeance, right around this stage, also started getting a lot more active in the earlier sections to really try to skyrocket those points. You can see that they were trying to lean into a little bit of a safer play style right now, and I don't know if that's working to the same level.
I don't know, but what I do know is we got a break, and then Poro and Toffees after the break.
Just like their namesake, M249 barrels through the competition with overwhelming force. Game 2 is in the books. My name's Toffees. I'm joined by Porosaurus, and without further ado, it's highlights time!
I love highlights
I like
time.
that.
It's the best time. It's a lot of, we got jazz hands, spirit fingers, everything you could possibly need. Well, right off the bat, it was good news for Pure, but not so good news for Raw Material as they were dropped down to Hope. But gotta give Hope some credit. They managed to stay alive for a long time here. As you see, a lot of fighting going on as BIS, Burning Silence, just could not hold that compound down, man.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's just what Vengeance does, and they start out strong. Ultimately, Burn in Silence slips away and does manage to go a little deeper into the game. But it continues. SNE, a team that we said to keep an eye on today, has been very slow, as has RM.
Yep, there was the unfortunate death of Hope here. But M249, man, they might need to change their name over to Tommy Gun, because this push was just absolutely disgusting. Cairo and Jason just pushing in there, both with these Tommy Guns. The lasers, absolute lasers, decimating that squad.
It's a customization kit. It makes it so ridiculous. And then we jump over to Kitty Cat. They love the gun. You heard Dave say it, how apropos to win with an M249. After that match, let's go to the overall standings. Vengeance still in first because they did get second in that game. So even when they don't win, they still perform pretty well. M249 Fan Club, amazing game, takes a chicken dinner. In second place, they've already qualified for the grand final, but they're still in second. Pure Love and Instinct bringing up third and fourth, and they're falling a little bit behind. It's starting to feel a little bit like it's going to be a 4-horse race, Poro. I'm a little worried about the guys on the bottom.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Burning Silence has to feel a little bit regret over that last game. I mean, they had the compound as dead center of the circle, surrounded by fields, and there was just no way to really stop the push from Vengeance. And in the end, they managed to get one out and stay alive for a little bit longer. But you got to expect that they were thinking that they could get a little bit more out of that than they ended up doing.
Well, maybe our teams on the bottom can learn a little something if they tune into the next segment, A New State of Mind.
It is, in fact, a new state of mind where we are here to talk about drones. Now, drones, a lot of different things you can do with drones. Obviously, you got to collect your drone credits in the first place, but just the fact that you can collect those credits throughout the world, you can combine credits with your teammates to trade them off and make sure you can try to get those green smokes to get the revives. But the biggest thing that we're seeing is calling in those crates to get those weapon specialization kits that we talked about before. And you saw the impact that those things can have. Even in that last game, the push with 2 weapon customization kits equipped Tommy guns turned them into absolute close range monsters where there was just nothing that Pure could do about the push from M249. So the drones definitely a big factor here in New State, and you want to make sure that you try to use them as early and as often as possible.
Yeah, it honestly felt like Valentine's Day there for a minute as we watched that final push. It was absolutely brutal, but I love drones doing double duty, the fact that you can sort of use them in multiple ways. Maybe you guys at home have a better idea of how to use drones. Maybe it's something that we haven't even picked up on yet. Well, sign up. Come play. We've got 2 more open qualifiers, 2 more influencer qualifier events. Both of them are still open for signing up. Each of them has a prize pool. If you win influencer, it's $2,000. If you win open qualifier, it's $3,000, and an automatic bid to play for your share of $200,000. Like that's a lot of cheddar for a new game. So come in, give it a shot. Why not? What do you have to lose? Because right now, you have nothing anyway. Let's bring in 2 guys who've got everything we need for the next match. It is Matchroom and Mustache Dave. Gentlemen, welcome. I'm not going to twist tongues. I'm not going to waste your time. Let's get right into the next match.
Ooh, game number 3, M249 Vengeance showing up so far here tonight, Matchroom. Now, I'm going to turn it to you. SNE. Do we feel like game number 3 might be their match here?
I mean, it's still pretty close on the leaderboard, so they have an opportunity. We did see a massive shift in both lobbies on game number 3. That's where we had early leads that came out on both lobbies that suddenly around this time, new teams started to usurp it. They figured out, okay, this is how they like to play. This is how they like to drop. Sometimes it just takes some teams a couple of games to go, okay, M249 likes to drop exhibit hole. So that means that they're probably going to rotate to here. So we can do this move. There is a level of, I guess, familiarity you can get with teams that start to unlock new strategies that you can execute.
Yeah, and we have, in fact, been just watching these new strategies unfold over the course of this week. You know, the first 3 days of the first ever official North American esports event, and it has been spicy so far. And with what, 4 more games to go, we will see who is that top 3 to make it to the grand finals to continue their journey as a pro player.
Yeah, this is, there's still several weeks, guys. So all of these teams could have the potential, depending on how long that they want to be able to compete inside this. And that's what we want. And if you heard Des talk about just a second, guys, this is also the early stages. You can jump in as well. Try to cut your teeth. You could be learning at the same time. Sure, it's fun to sit back and watch, and I really love enjoy watching great, phenomenal play, because I may not have the best mechanical skills, but if you think that you do, there's no excuse to not be trying right now, because there's a ton of money on that table. You can see that BIS and SNE are pretty close to each other, but shouldn't be too big of a problem, as the circle does land right on top of center, where the flower field is at yet again.
Yeah, looks like BIS were looking to head towards Chester, but then realizing that there's another team going to be taking that town before they have the opportunity. So they're going to be popping in some vehicles, looking to reposition probably to those little outskirt towns just north of Chester. We are playing extreme mode, so every single building, every complex, every little town and major landmark is just stacked with gear, stacked with loot and drone credits. So another cool thing about the esports mode here that we're playing, the extreme mode.
This is a much calmer start to most things. Teams are Eastern leaning just due to the plane path, but familiarity should be kicking off for these teams. The areas that they made movements to beforehand should be heavily rewarded to just repeat. But if it was a team that had a rougher start, let's say, I don't know, there's just one of them that hope comes to mind whenever I'm thinking of it. Maybe they might need to make some adjustments if they want to handle this. Well, do we have a thief somewhere? I think I heard.
Yeah, that's the police station in Chester that we were talking about. That if you unlock that gun safe, there's a chance that a P90 might be in there. Yeah, of course, there's other weapons in there too, but I think the best weapon that you can randomly pick up is the P90, especially early game right off the rip.
I mean,
well, that's the thing. It lets you know, though. That's the thing. If there's 2 teams in Chester and you open up that safe, that alarm is so loud that it just gives it away. You know for a fact there's a team in the police station, right? So there is a risk/reward kind of aspect to it.
Well, I love the counterplay around that. Put a good gun in a position where people can get access to it, but then also make it to where if somebody goes for it, everybody around says, hey, we might be able to pounce them, or at least go, hey, they have a good gun. Let's not be here anymore.
Yeah.
So that's what you want. And one of the things I do talk about a lot is the different styles and mindsets that you can have in a BR game and the different opportunities that you can play around. We've seen that some teams do lean a little bit more technical. Some do lean a little bit more passive. Some really enjoy leaning into their gunfighting, and others just really like to do splits. You can find the strategies that work for you and your squad, and you and your friends sometimes. I may not have the best synergy with some of my friends, but still fun to play however they want to play.
We're just out here gaming. We're just out here gaming. And if you are Vengeance, well, you know, we found out their secret. Gaming chairs. You need them gaming chairs. So I saw a drone called in to Chester from SNE. I'm curious. This is something that Toffee's from the desk has kind of been talking about here a couple times here, is early game, split up those drone credits and call in a green flare early, like right off the drop, so that just in case something happens, you're already prepared to call back in your teammate. And this is another interesting fact, that each player starts with 300 credits. So all the 4 players can kind of combine their credits, and right there, without even looting, they already have enough to call in a green flare. So that might have been what SNE did here with their early drone call.
I lean more into the strategy of I just want to get a lot of guns. Give me the tools to win the firefights, because my luck would be that we would dump a whole bunch of credits into getting a green flare onto somebody, and that would be the person to die. So now not only have we lost the member, but we've also given a green flare over to somebody else.
Well, here's the other flare, the red flare from Sleep. So it looks like Sleep from M249 taking your advice here. Going to be calling in that red flare. Probably going to be picking up a P90 and some level 3 gear to go with it. It's going to be at Exhibit Hall. And I see in Anchorville is going to be Syntex. Now, Syntex, they like to play that center position towards the mid game. Will they avoid Exhibit Hall, or will they take the fight knowing that they probably saw that flare drop there?
M249 and Vengeance, the only teams that really have to move into the circle right now. I do want to point out, guys, that Hope did go back to his home from last game, and the rest of the team looks like they're going to come visit. So really, it's like a housewarming party. He's like, guys, look, see, we haven't gotten all the furniture set up or anything else like that, but it's a pretty good place. You know, I really enjoy this. Come check it out with me.
Oh, here's another drone here too. Syntex might be calling in a custom kit. Put that custom kit on the Vector. I believe it gives you a long barrel, so it increases your range for that mid to long game fire. I know I like to get the custom kit for my UMP. One of my favorite submachine guns to rock here.
I'm just a sucker for anything that's SMG-like, especially in New State. I don't know, they just feel so powerful. ARs I know have their strengths, but I'm really enjoying just a weird off-meta run of SMG and DMRs. It feels really good.
Oh, can we steal it? Can we steal it? That might be heading towards Chester. That might be heading towards SNE. So not able to steal the drone. Not able to steal it. I hate to see it. But yeah, to your point, SMG is so strong. I'm surprised. We talked about it on day one. The L8, the AR, the 5.56 AR, I haven't been seeing a lot of it in competitive. And I think it is because it's due to the fact that it is fairly new. It was in the recent patch notes. So maybe these players just have their comfort weapons, you know, their comfort picks that they've been grinding with since preseason. So I definitely understand it. But I told him today, I was like, read the patch notes. It says in the notes, it's the strongest 5.56. Like, why aren't you using it? And I was talking to M249 fan club specifically about this. And like, Dave, game experience, M249 doesn't let us down. I said, you're just saying that because it's in your name of your team. So I don't know. Maybe next week we'll see more L8s as players kind of get more comfortable using the new AR. All things considered, though, yeah, you never know. I mean, they did win last game with an M249, so I'm not arguing it too much. But, you know, I get it. I get it. You know, the comfort pick.
They could come in and rebrand next week, have themselves a new type of fanboy instead of M249. You never know.
That would be cool.
We could see that rotations are the name of the game as everybody's kicking off, and this is going to be the circle that is too small to support this amount of teams. SNE is going to be coming into the southwest. See the condensing coming in along the hillside. Vengeance with an early move do get into a pretty good value point. Our team beforehand that we were talking about with Hope, and that's going to be Raw Materials, do get themselves into a good spot as well. BIS is going to be rolling right next to them. M249, the team that's running a little bit slower on this, but given the fact that so much of the north is open, that should be quite viable. So really, you can see that the hills are the big thing that a lot of people are wanting to move into due to the lack of compounds and just the strength of being that close to center.
Yeah, but then we see Hope right here. You're just talking about nice little spot out here to the west. Car 98 with the 8 times, so you can really zoom in out there. And it looks like they're going to be zooming in on top of Vengeance. Ooh, we did get the tag. We did get the hit marker. No down. But right here, this is what I like to call some target practice. Target practice.
It's discouraging.
Because you're not going to push it. You might get the knock, but you're not pushing it. You're in the zone. You're safe. Talk about pushing it, though. BIS zooming by.
Well, they might be rewarded for this. There's nobody really that far to the north or the east. So this is going to be the most open avenue for them to make a stop with. Good shots coming out. We're going to see a couple of knocks, but like Dave was talking about, don't expect any pushes. And the way that everybody's doing peaks right now is mostly from defended positions. So the moment you see somebody's head get popped, they're just going to fall behind a wall and have the capabilities to get res. So it's just the war of attrition stage right now, as M249 is our only team that's really the moving factor into this, as they are coming down the hillside and should be stopping here relatively soon.
Yeah, they're going to be making a pit stop. They might make a pit stop, though, right into raw material. So we'll keep tabs on that because they're heading right towards that direction. BIS over here on top of the cliff. They have their vehicles behind the rocks, keeping those tires nice and safe. Just peeking over, taking some shots onto Syntex. We're at that point in the game where it's all about just gathering information, the information gathering stage. And if you see an enemy, you can take the snipe, get that damage on the board, pad those stats, and even take out their utility when we're looking at their armor. So that's the name of the game right now.
Only one casualty so far, and that's on Vengeance's squad. So it's a calm before the storm, to say the least. It's just continual knocks that are popping, but most of them are going Vengeance's way. And for a team that really likes to execute off angles and flanks and run like 1-3s or sometimes even 2-2s, this is going to be a problem. Burning off this much utility, like having to use this many meds, lacking the helmets, the armors at this stage is really going to negate the capabilities of their playstyle.
Oh, they're crashing. Oh, they're actually crashing. And they saw the flare go up in the air, so they know there's going to be another teammate coming from the sky. SNE being proactive right here, Matrim.
Going for a quick reposition around. They have to be careful. M249 is on this angle for it. So this is about to be very contested very, very quickly. Vengeance does have their man coming in spicy, and they want to hold down this position and protect him. So now forced into a heavy defended spot, but it's going to be M249 that's really got the angle on a lot of what's going down right now. You can see everybody right now on S&E had to stop just due to their positioning, and that's made it a lot more awkward. Worst Horror now having an opportunity. The firing lines for both M249 might lean into this opportunity to also try to pick up a couple, because this is going to be two very weakened teams. Worst Horror hasn't had the capabilities to make the full-on commitment to defend, and M249 is still eyeing it up, as we did have S&E get eliminated.
Dude, SNE, we'll get back to that because M249 trying to make the collapse. We got the Tommy gun through the window. There's one. I saw one of the teammates with the P90 as well. Looks like it's going to be a 3v4.
Take it. This is your opportunity. You know somebody just came into this position. Weakened, very little ammo. Squads were caught up in a fight, but Crown is so good. He's trying to defend his teammates, and he is putting it in. KitKat also on the other side of it. It's quick firefights between the two of them. Now we're starting to see the lineup. Jason's got some vision on what's going on with Crown. Takes a touch, finally takes him down. M249 sitting on 2, but only one member up for Vengeance. It's going to be Worst Horror, who says, no, it's too hot. I've got to play for safety. Hops in a car and is going to be running to the safe zone that is nowhere around here.
Yeah, and Crown did not get those stirs because they were anticipating the push from the other enemy, aka Jason. We saw Jason last game with the Tommy gun as well, able to clutch it out. Really strong close quarter combat player. And Worst Horror, they were looking for that flank, but they just weren't able to get there in time. Almost getting taken out right there too on the drive-by. But SNE, so SNE, they're probably like, the one time we're proactive and we push a team, we just get third party and then die. Just unfortunate. I did like the call though from SNE, and I hope they don't stop that just because it didn't work out this one time. They got one confirmed, and then they also got a knock and immediately popped in their vehicles, made the collapse, made the push, but it just happened that M249 were on the opposite end making the same exact play.
Oh no, not again, Hope. Not like this. Rolling around, doing scouting, lots of bullets coming his way. Trying to navigate the north to see if maybe he can keep some information over the rest of the team. The rest of Raw Materials is going to be coming up back behind him and going to be running right next to Syntax's position, but see Hope very abandoned off on this angle by himself, and he's just going to have to be content over here, as he was wont to do last game, so not the worst. I do want to lean back into the S&E thing real quick that you were talking about, though, Dave. That push would have been so much cleaner if they had pulled into the angle where their backs they knew were against the wall. Instead, they continued a little bit further in and then flanked in from what would be the western wall, which is why M249 had that angle. So they essentially put themselves in a pinched position. And Hope, you got friends that are coming after you. I know you've got an eye on Voxel, but you've got a very close target that are rolling right up, trying to get the shots, and he's going to go down.
Was that just a drive-by? I think that was just a drive-by too.
Yeah.
Oh, the seat swap. Hope, see you later. Raw Materials done. Out. Once again, the insurance policy just not working out for him here. Not so far in the first 3 matches.
Worst Horror, our only solo that is still up. He's got himself a defended position very far to the east. M249 has been feasting right now. Do need to make their way into the zone, and they do have Pure that's on one angle as well as Syntax on the other. They could do a very far northern wrap, but I don't know. This is very, very contained options coming up from N249.
Yeah, this is a good zone for Vengeance with having a solo, right? Because the majority of the lobby, they're going to be out here on that west side, and they are definitely going to clash. So if you're solo, that's best case scenario, especially if you're Vengeance. You're just looking for consistent points here this game to maintain that lead that they currently have.
M249 looks like they're going to lean into getting just the top of that hill, which is good for now. But if we don't see a hard northwestern shift, it's going to be trouble to try to get out of. But like you're talking about, Dave, most of the teams in about the northwestern half of the circle, really, it's just going to be Instinct that's to the south, and good old Worst Horror that's got himself a friend. And that's right on the edge of the zone, too. That should be survivable.
Yeah, that should be good. That should be good, unless Instincts recognize that and try to take some shots. But Instincts, it's a team that is really passive, so I don't know. This would be their moment, though. They can recognize there's two enemies over there. This could be their moment to capitalize and get some elim points here in the mid-game.
I find it interesting that they went for the call on Spicy as well. It feels like we've seen a lot of synergies coming up between Worst Horror and Crown. I'm curious if that's because Crown wants to lean a little bit more into the IGL role in this type of situation, and maybe just kind of lean into his teammates to just go for the kill points and try to set them up for the most success that they can. The circle does pop and does favor Instinct's position with just a little bit of Vengeance being able to move forward and should be able to be fine.
Yeah, and it goes back to the fact that Spicy, their main kind of role on the team is supporting Horror. They got that synergy going on here. And with Crown being the IGL, Crown can still do their job from just spectating their teammates, right? So I believe that's why they made the call on Spicy here.
All right, Dave, you ready? Because we got a lot of teams that are about to have to send at center with no options for cover, and it's about to just be an absolute bloodbath. There's a little bit of a recessed hill there, but short of a tram rolling through the center, you don't got much.
You don't got much. This is Instinct's game to really get a lot of elim points. They only have one so far, but if they can get some nice sight lines and set up a nice defense, this could be their match.
Starting to roll through M249, trying to find somewhere to stop, and they're just look like they might rally the vehicles very close to center and just try to form up. No, maybe they could be just leading into the hillside. I like the stop on this so they can turn around, and now this is going to be two different teams with firing angles. The problem with it is I don't know if they know that Vengeance is here and come up back behind them. Here, Cross already starting to lead for the scout as well. Looks like he could be eyeing a very similar position. M249 hasn't settled on a spot either, trying to work their way up that hill, but that means that Vengeance's duo could find an angle to open up onto them. BIS now hopping in the vehicles, going to start their move to the south, and you can see that everybody is just trying to find something to lean their vehicles into, to find some cover, even if it's just a tree at this stage.
Yeah, it is going to be a big mess. It's going to be a disaster. Worst Horror, fortunate for them, they have the blue zone toward their back, so nobody's going to be out there. They have a nice little angle utilizing that rooftop. But over here, M249 trying to gatekeep BIS right now.
And it is harsh to do. You can see Kairos very aware that Mercy is close in vehicles. BIS moves directly around them and is trying to use their vehicle push to see if they can get in positions. Meanwhile, Pierre is still trying to make their run through. It's just chaos. People are getting sprayed from angle upon angle. You can see the Syntax was trying to come up back behind this, did distract BIS for just a second, while also having Instinct taking some shots at them. Pure had an angle into this. BIS now finding themselves in that pinch position. New circle does pop, favors down into Instinct position yet again, but M249 using the hillside, using the distractions, now finding more ways to fight this one out, and already at 6 kills.
P90, you just don't lose. BIS down to just a solo with the M249 back against the blue inside the smoke position compromised, but the duo from Vengeance, look at that, they're making a push.
They've got him. Oh, Jason goes down. Can they net some more? Going for the flushes as they walk. BIS Santi is happy to have that moment of respite, hopping inside of a vehicle, now going to be Syndicate, but that's going to be right along Pure's firing line, and they're going to have open season on them. The duo coming up for Vengeance perfectly fine with taking their shots and now stepping away, realizing that they can push down around the southern part of the circle and might have an easier path. BIS is solo, now just running in, and Instinct doesn't look like they have an angle just quite yet.
Wow. Yeah, the next circle, I believe Vengeance recognizing, okay, let's play the zone here. It forced them to push back and play the zone, right? So I do like that play from them. Over here, though, in the south, still looking at Instincts down to just one elim point. I really thought they would have been able to capitalize on these elims with their position from the last circle, but they still have their teammates alive here, Matrim.
There's a recessed hill that everybody is trying to use. That's why so many teams were leaning into the north. This is harsh, specifically for Pure. Very few options. BIS gets its position revealed, also taken out. Oddly enough, Vengeance's reposition in the south could come up with a massive benefit. Instinct is trying to find it, does connect the shot into Spicy. Now, Worst Horror is looking just into an open area, trying to take some shots, gonna go down. M249 about to have to walk into the same angle, but you can see slowly and steadily there is whittling damage that is affecting Instinct. Trying to use the tree, Kairos just dancing, trying to get closer, but where do you go? Now it's going to be Piers Long who's still alive that gets the shots into him, and it's just everybody trying to get some type of points here, even if it's just kill points. Scrap together what you can.
Yeah, a little head bops out here. And okay, so I was questioning Instincts and their lack of elim points, but they are definitely taking advantage of this rooftop right here because they have sight lines on the entirety of this final zone.
The circle does move, and nobody is really favored. It kind of creates a triangle between the two, but quick movement coming out from Instinct. I like this. Go ahead and get position. You know that Pure is already fairly weak. So now, getting into position early. Let's yet again have the positions where they're going to have to come to you. You get to set the defense, and now you get to dictate how they can come into this circle. Moving out, Toxic already knows, using that hillside. Pure's trying to stay alive. No throwables connecting, but is going to find himself in the open if he's not too careful.
Yeah, Toxic needs to be careful being like so aggressive. Their team has the zone.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about right there. They separated out too much for this tiny of a circle as they were trying to defend the lines, and that means the fact that this defense could fall apart. Pure is going to try to pick it apart piece by piece as they move forward. The flank and the wings now starting to open up. Fengu does go down. Opposite side being exchanged. Toxic also trying to get to where Sam goes down. Instinct was trying to hold this one out, but the firepower coming up from Pure, moving up the hillside, still have 3 members up, and it's just Mexican, the last one standing for his squad. It's just a matter before he gets spotted. Long's trying to connect, does get it, and Pure survives that just through sheer willpower.
Yep, what a game. And you know who's happy? Didn't Poro from the desk call out Pure Love today? That was their pick. So coming in match number 3, getting the win. Gonna be setting them up here for success moving into the later half. But Instincts yesterday popping off. Today, okay, they're doing okay. But Toxic, I don't know, Match'em. Toxic was ultra aggressive right there, kind of separated from their team. I really felt like Instincts had the advantage when we're looking at this circle here, and they kind of let it slip through their fingers.
I love how quick, because it seemed like their communication was all together. They all agreed on the plan. They jumped in the vehicle, and they were moving quick. They got right next to the circle, didn't claim the circle, and leaned into the little bit of the hillside cover. Jumps out, lines out, but then separates really far away from the circle that they were trying to take. And I understand that that's a small circle, so it doesn't have defendable positions to play from. But pushing themselves out that separated means the fact that they couldn't defend each other. And that, I don't know. I felt like maybe just use the car for cover at least.
Yeah, and Pure Love recognized that as well, right?
Yeah.
They were able to recognize that, and once when they made the call and spotted out how they were so separated, immediately they just flooded it. And they came out on top with their aim. So GG's to them. Regardless, Instincts, hey, it is what it is. Regardless, though, Instincts had a couple elim points still that they were able to acquire in that late game from that rooftop that they were holding down for a lot of that match. So they're going to be staying afloat, all things considered.
Well, we got somebody that's been holding it down for so long, delivering so much information, and that's going to be Toffees and Poros that are going to be catching you right after this break to give you so much information and help you improve your game.
We are halfway through the finals. 3 games done and 3 left to play, as it's time for the rubber to hit the road and teams have to make a final statement for whether or not they deserve to go the distance. My name's Toffees. I'm joined by Porosaurus, and these are the highlights.
Highlights indeed, as we have 3 games in the book, and now Pure finally stepping up to get that victory, but I gotta feel bad for Instinct, man. It's been 2 second places in a row. That one in particular really feels like it got away from them.
But there's 2 kinds of instincts in the world, Poro. There's a survival instinct and a killer instinct. And I'm seeing survival instinct, not the killer instinct that I need to see from them, because their placements, they're fine, but their kills, they're not.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have this high ground position here. You can see they're just raining terror down on the entire lobby, but only 5 kills picked up. Now, obviously the terrain having a little bit to do with that, but the fact that they had the opportunity to get in the vehicle while Pure was down with 2 knocks, they could have pushed, they could have been aggressive and tried to take the fight to Pure. Instead, they prioritized the late game circle, and Pure just ends up getting a beautiful wrap. And at the end of the day, along with that amazing push, ends up winning the 1v1.
I mean, 2 players down. If there was ever a time to just beam in with a car, that was it. But here's the overall standings. Vengeance at 40, M249 Fan Club at 37, Pure Love at 35, and Instinct at 25. They're holding on. Placements are working, but NSC and Syntax are gaining, and they have the potential to catch up. Also, keep in mind, 3 teams advance at the end of games today. M249 has already qualified. It would be silly to requalify them. So if they are in the top 3, the 4th place team will get a bid to the grand finals. So we'll see if that ends up panning out for anyone. Now, I want to make sure that you guys know how to pan out and win games. And the best way to do that is to listen to the man sitting next to me as he takes you through a new state of mind.
Yes, indeed. And this time around, we're going to talk about vehicles. Now, there are 4 EV vehicles, 2 gas vehicles. Those EV vehicles, obviously fantastic because they are a little bit more quiet. You can be a little bit more sneaky, play around them. But another thing that I really, really like about the vehicles in New State is that you can open those doors, use those doors as cover. So that makes using these vehicle forts a little bit more of a viable option when you're trying to, say, push a compound or hold high ground or hold center circle in an open field ending towards the end of the game, which we've seen now back-to-back open field endings. Absolutely brutal stuff, but we haven't seen so many vehicles make it there to the end. So definitely try to use those vehicles, try to use that hard cover to your advantage when you play.
Take the lessons that Poro's given you, take the lessons you've got from watching the game, and get in yourself. Signups are open right now for our remaining qualifiers for the Opens as well as the Influencer events. You can find them at esl.gg/New State Mobile Mashup. You can't win if you don't drop in. Now, let's call up the rest of our squad, the kings, the leaders of the frag. It is Mustache Dave and Matt. Gentlemen, game 4 is already starting, so we're going to leave it to you.
Game number 4, halftime done. We are heading into the later half. Top 3 make it to the grand finals. If M249 are in that top 3, that 4th place spot gets the slot here, Matchum.
That's why we have so many eyes now focused on the top 4, because M249, dude, they're pretty much going to be cemented in the top 3. I would say right now they're doing a great job, unless it all just somehow comes apart. But it's almost feeling formulaic for them at this point. They know exactly where they're going to go on their drops. Exhibit Hall is open on the circle. Guys, they're going to go there, and then they should have a pretty easy next rotation coming out of it.
Yeah, the incentive for M249, first of all, the best practice you can get for grand finals, and second of all, the cash money, the prize money that is still on the line. So they have a lot to play for here tonight. And talking about tonight, game number 4, Matchroom, let's get into it.
Pretty similar path to what we saw last time, just Exhibit Hall a little bit more center. So, I would be surprised if we see some similarities from what we've been going on. I do want to see if we're going to see some more aggression in the earlier stages from a couple of these teams, though. We've been talking about it time and time again, that some of the teams that were finding their most successes were doing it off of a snowball. At the very start, they would get involved in a fight, pick up the credits, turn that into more credits, just by constantly killing. This has been a much tamer lot today with I would say, comfort picks, drops, and safety being the priority.
Credits on top of credits, and I agree with you. The first 2 nights, we would always lose 2 teams, right? In that early game drop. But tonight, completely opposite. All these teams have been surviving through that mid game and even making it close to that end game, which really makes it a challenge in this extreme mode when the zones close in so quickly. And to have all 8 teams alive, it just, we see it. We've been seeing it here so far. I mean, it just causes chaos for a lot of these teams when they look to rotate.
In the distance, SNE is making a push for position. It looks like they've got themselves the potential of a little bit of company, all considered. Voxel and the rest of the crew are going to be coming up right next to him. Circle's going to stay centered, so nothing too crazy happening at the time. Don't be surprised if we see Voxel, the rest of BIS, stop on the outskirts of Chester instead of going a little bit deeper into where we see SNE at.
Ooh, okay. Here's some shots ringing on out. I'm still... Where are my Vengeance hot drops? That's how you know they're playing sweaty tonight, matchup. That's how you know they're playing a qualifier, because last night they were just hot dropping every single game and walking away unscarred, right? Like they were walking away 4 up, looking good, and just steamrolling with that snowball, with that momentum that we talked about here so much tonight or last night. Tonight, passive, right? Early game, not getting involved, just looking for some loot, but they have been showing up. So there has been a slight kind of change in the playbook here tonight. And hey, I'm all for it. Whatever you got to do to come out on top and make that top 3.
Hey, if anything, showcasing the fact that you have multiple play styles is in and of itself an amazing thing to showcase. The ability to make modifications on the fly, depending at the stage and what you think that your strengths are in each circle, is extremely beneficial the longer that this goes on. Sure, being a hot drop, ready to go, momentum-based like snowball team, great. But also being able to play it a little bit more passive, take that area and get like the trigger discipline and take the time to approach fights that you know that you can exactly win is in and itself its own merit.
You like to see it, right? You like to see teams come in here and be able to demonstrate that they can play both play styles, right? They have multiple tactics and strategies that they can implement and do good, do good at it, right? And have decent games, get decent amount of points and elims. So it is cool. It is cool to see watching these teams develop in front of our very own eyes. And talking about develop, another thing that we're starting to see develop are these hard drop spots, right? These teams have been getting these spots every single game. M249, he got them at Exhibit Hall. SNE taking up Chester. BIS north of Chester. That's been the story all night long so far.
Cemented drops are the development, and you are 1,000% right in that, Mustache Dave. People are finding the locations that they're wanting to regularly play and try to avoid those hot drops, so that way maybe they can come in at the time that they feel most appropriate and take the fights that they want, instead of the more chaotic beginnings that, while can give you that snowball, also can backfire and be a double-edged sword and make it to where you get no points in a game. So taking a touch of safety isn't the worst, but does mean the fact that the early game slows down.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. Just looking at the bigger picture, right? The bigger picture, and what I mean by that, I'm talking about the grand finals, because if you're a team that qualifies for the grand final and you do have a designated drop spot here on Troy, you have to assume the other teams, they're going to most likely respect that, right? So you kind of staking that flag. That's your spot. Like you mentioned, another team, they're not going to want to drop there, because then they're going to be risking the fact of getting taken out early. So I think it's an advantage, actually, for teams to qualify for the grand finals early with these designated drop spots, because they can claim it as their own here. And then other teams have to kind of react to that, unless they want to contest it, of course.
M249 was the first ones to cement in this position, and that's because they have the least concern with it. Whenever we were looking at yesterday's games, they were very committed into this drop even then, And now that's just carried over. They've already qualified. They're playing this for money. Yes, that's great because more money in your pocket means the fact that you can get the tools to succeed in the game as well. But also being able to say, this is ours, you can't have it at this stage is huge for what's going to be coming in the weeks.
And they start to learn the drop spot, like the different levels, the different rooms, in and out, right? Just running it back every single game.
And
that
repetition out of it.
Yeah, the rotations, that repetition definitely helps them kind of develop like somewhat of a muscle memory, right, to come into these matches as well. So it is cool. And M249 already called in to crate, have a P90. We saw them be able to acquire one early last game. And over here, talking about spots, Maul, another really strong stacked spot to drop and get some loot. It looks like we are going to have Pure Love dropping Maul, but I'm looking at the mini-map. Instincts on the outskirts. Now, Instincts have been consistent here so far with placement points, but have just been dropping that ball in that last minute of the game, right? Not able to really secure the win and get those 10 placement points. So you have to assume they've been so close to the win a couple times now. They are bound to get one, right? I mean, they're bound to get one. They have to be.
I think it's just experience. We're seeing that the teams that played that one extra day are having a lot of upside just in knowing how they want to play. You can tell that Instinct understands their win conditions. They understand where they need to be, but they just showcase a touch of hesitation here and there. And that hesitation is costing them those skill points because they know that they can potentially take that fight against Pure and move into their face instead of the circles.
Yeah.
But you could tell the fact that once they jumped out, those extra couple of seconds and hopping in the car, moving to the circle, and then trying to get in their face is what let everybody on Pure reset. If they just committed earlier, they would have won that game hands down.
They are going to have a nice little spot here on the edge, and I already noticed that they have a green flare in the back pocket prepared just in case things don't go their way. S&E, we see them doing a little scout action over here. They might run into Syntax, who are also in vehicles. I'm looking at Vengeance, though. Like, I know we got the upper hand because we're looking at the map, but I can see Vengeance totally rotating on that east side, right? I mean, it's wide open. A little bit of scouting, they'll be able to recognize it. But right now, Matcham, when I'm looking at that west side, man, look at all those vehicles and all those players just driving around each other.
That is so harsh for S&E because they were trying to come into the circle. They then bump into Syntax that forces them onto a new angle. Now rolling along right as BIS is making their approach. M249 also choosing to crash at roughly the same time. So that means Raw Material is going to find themselves very heftily pushed. Several teams now eyeing this position. BIS was making their roll in, and this is where they're going to continue their push as well. M249, though, not going to let them in. They get in just a touch ahead of everything that's going on, and now it's going to be M249 making a clean sweep into this, and Raw Materials finds themselves pinched very quickly. Kairos on one side, 3 members on the other, and there's the knock, and here comes the pushes.
With the P90 to open it up. Loki over here knows for a fact there's going to be an enemy, but down 2 members already from Raw Materials. Things are not looking good, Matcham.
Kitty Cat just ran right by you to go after one of your teammates. If you're going to hold that position and try to play for safety, you've got to try to stay alive. And now he's going to go down. Just 1 member up for Raw Materials, and it looks like they're going to be the Raw Materials to feed some more kill points over and help people climb that leaderboard.
Yep, and oh man, and they called in 2 drones. 3. We see the crates, 3 drone crates, and they had a care package. So Raw Materials were stacked this game with items, Matcham. So M249 just hitting the treasure trove with that push.
That's the need. They think as he says, okay. I was seeing if maybe there was a weakened team over here. That seems to not be the case. I'll just go back to whence I came and is going to get fairly centered, all considered. M249's position, the reason they sent it here is it is a strong position. I do want to point out, it looks like we might also see Vengeance getting into a pretty aggressive position around where BIS is playing.
Yeah, so they did end up rotating on that east side, what we predicted, and Oh, they're rotating even further to the north, right over BIS. Looks like they are going to be popping out because BIS did take some shots at their vehicles as they drove by. So Vengeance now has that intel. We'll see what they end up doing with it.
I'm really curious to see what SNE is doing. With Razzy's positioning, Sam seems like he's wanting to play the hills that are just southeast of where he's at, and the rest of the team is kind of tailing behind. I think that they're trying to make sure that they get more information of what's going to the north, because again, everybody should be aware that 249 plays around Exhibit Hall, and I think that they have a touch of hesitation not knowing where M249 has moved from. And you can see they constantly are looking into the Exhibit Hall position, but there's no one there. The rotation's already happened.
I think Sam from SNE did pop a drone scout. So they are going to be able to use that drone scout to kind of gather a little more intel, possibly send it down there towards Syntax and kind of spot out pinpoint exactly what compounds, what buildings, what angles are holding down. So information right now is king as we head into the mid to late game.
I also got to say, I love the fact that we see people in chat asking who's wanting to play next week and seeing if they can find like-minded individuals, because there's no harm in it. The worst thing that you got is the fact that you might lose, but hey, if you don't play, you're already going to lose. So worst to worst, you'll get some play time. And I think that we got Choco Taco that's going to be on Thursday to give you tons of insight on what's going on in every single game. So we've got a lot to look forward to week upon week in this event. And
the best case is you win some money, $10,000 for the Opens next week. And if you qualify for grand finals, that's a $200,000 prize pool. So the upside there, Matchroom, is up. But talk about being up. Vengeance making a crash on the BIS.
I love this. Scout it for a long period of time. Realize how you can make the approach, because Vengeance is so strong whenever they can get into these close range fights. Sometimes they just get picked apart on their approach. Taking that second, scouting, and realizing the pathing that they want to take and where each player is supposed to go is going to be exactly how Vengeance can find success. But do note, BIS is a strong team. Circle has popped, and it is kind of Mesa. I mean, M249, and this fight is going to be about whoever is going to be inside the safe zone right now.
Yeah, Vengeance might have messed up a little bit because they were in vehicles and they could have went to Mesa free and clear, but instead they committed to this push here, and well, we see
don't ever time a push at a circle shift.
Yes, sir. I do like how Crown has the Vector though with the custom kit on it, so it has the long barrel. We'll see if they can use it. Crown not rocking the P90, so.
This is a very slow developing fight, especially for Vengeance, who we've seen be utmost aggression when they want to execute. Voxel goes down. Maybe this is where that aggression starts off. Still barely. Santi's trying to hold the angle for his teammates, but there's just too many members around this angle. So Santi has to move into some safety. Keep in mind, Worst Horror is on a side angle with this Crown, finding some type of capabilities to work with, and this is just clean and clear so far. There has been some damage onto Kurai as well as Crown, but no knocks coming out, and this is all based off of that information that they got earlier. Kurai trying to see if he can finally get one down, does, but he's going to go down in exchange.
There you go. Clean push right there. Spicy was knocked out, but both teammates going to be assisting on the revive, making that revive time even shorter. Horror on the roof, going for some loot, the loot goblin out here. But that upgraded Vector, that thing just shredded BIS to bits.
Small movements have happened in the circle. M249 is shifted to the hillside. To the south of them, we've had several other teams position themselves in fairly strong spots. And that's going to be the problem for Syntax, as they are rolling in. It looks like they are eyeing the eastern part over into Mesa, but they have a lot of bullets that are coming at them. They should have finished the gauntlet now and should find some safety. But guess what? Pure's also going to be coming along a path, and there's not a lot of cover any way that they're rolling through, as M249 is going to into the investment. It's intense.
Ooh, Jason, watch yourself, taking some spray shots with the DP immediately connected on over there. But yeah, Matchroom, I'm looking at Pure. We see them on the mini-map. They're looking to make their way into the zone from that north side that we just saw Vengeance take that compound from BIS. So that's a pretty stacked fight we might have over here.
They were eyeing Vengeance position. The shots are going to force them away from it. Now, They're just going to opt into running right between M249 and SNE, and so far it's working because the exchange bullets between this. We're being patient. We've seen him line up some amazing shots, does connect into that, but that's going to inadvertently allow more movement coming up from Pure, who was getting harassed by that M249 squad from that high ground position.
Yeah, one of those moments you wish you had a Bolty, because that DP spray with the 6 times, I mean, they controlled it quite well. If that was me, that thing would have went straight to the sky. So impressive shots, but definitely a moment you wish you had that Bolty.
Pure does get 2 people in the safe zone, but you can see shields down. It's not a good place to be, to say the least. See Spectrum's over here. Often we see a lot of deployable shields around Spectrum sign. I don't know why. It just time and time again, if the circle comes over here, we always see a shield. I think it's just due to the complete lack of cover in this position.
Bring your own cover, right? Bring your own cover. It can get destroyed though, so it's not a permanent fixture. Razzie gonna be pre-firing with the M4 through that window, possibly even destroying that deployable shield.
New circle is about to pop, moves just a little bit more centered, and so now M249 have a path through their hillside. They still have Sleep that is watching Vengeance's position, but everybody else needs to move it just a minute amount forward. We have Cross that is oddly enough in the safe zone, but that might be its own problem because people might be wanting that cover.
Yeah, and SNE Razzie was taking shots at Cross just a moment ago. Yep.
Yeah, we got him down.
Yep, got him down. Yep. So SNE gonna be piling in that west side. Bang Yu though from Pierce still alive, so they still have a player to kind of continue to carry the torch here and try to get some points, those consistent placement points. But it is gonna be a challenge as we already see them rotating in that vehicle.
Talking about carrying, this is a big opportunity for M249 to carry. They don't have to move far. They've already got vision on almost every team that they want to have vision on, and they're going to have a high ground position in this circle. They can do a lot of work in this, and you can see this is what they've got to work with. Nobody has vision up this hillside, but they have to make sure that they're not letting anybody get too close. If people with throwables do get in range, that is going to spell a big problem for them. So I like the fact that they left Sleep very far to the north to not allow Vengeance to wrap around that area. If Vengeance, we've seen them, they love to play along that wall, and this negated that. Now they're having to send it the opposite direction.
Yeah, and that's huge because look at the points. They're 1 point behind Vengeance, and they are gatekeeping them. And, well, that forced Vengeance to go for a riskier rotate. They're going to be pulling up right onto SNE.
I mean, that is a clean pickup coming out from them, though. Vengeance just drops out right behind SNE, and it is a 1-2-3 drop on the other side of it. And Hyper is like, what the hell just happened to my team? Now trying to commit into a res. We also do have Pure that is hearing what's going on. It doesn't look like they're going to try to move into this, but they might get vision. And SNE trying to rebound off of it. You know Vengeance isn't going to let them have too much time to try to execute reses, though.
Yeah, dude's got shredded, man. The pull-up right there with the custom vector with the extended barrel, you can shoot a little further, and those shots just connect right there. So that was a clean pull-up from Vengeance. They're able to acquire some elim points, and we see the overall leaderboard, both Vengeance and M249 just bouncing back and forth, and M249 playing Kings of the Hill right now, as it looks like Syntax attempting to push them out.
Hyper, you're the only one in the circle, and you got some friends that are about to try to come after you. You've got to defend up with your life. Luckily, the M249 fight going on with Syntax is taking quite a while, so no long-range skirmish is going to be able to be involved in this at the time. But that is now finishing out. M249 is going to have to move out of their high ground position, and they're going to be coming up right behind Hyper, who is just clinging to life in that spot. With everything that's going on, we still do have Instinct alive, and are going to have to make a push, and I don't know how they're going to opt into doing this. There are not a lot of cover in this. There is at least a little hill that they can play.
Yeah, good luck. Hyper does have the boulder, though, right? They do have the boulder, and they are in the zone. And M249, they won that fight. They also have a green flare, so if they're going to call it in, now is the time to at least attempt to get up. Sleep got him. Doesn't matter if they're in the zone. Didn't matter. They got him.
That's what I was worried about. M249's high ground. The boulder was just the wrong way. He couldn't move away from where M249 is. So looks like this is going to be the lineup that we are looking at. This hill being the deciding factor in the line of demarcation between all three of these teams. With Vengeance playing this position, they are going to have the potential to see M249, as M249 is also going to have their eyes on that spot. So inadvertently, Vengeance is getting themselves pinched. But it's going to be Instinct that's playing this much slower that might allow themselves to come up right back behind this fight that starts to break out between M249 and that spray coming up from Worst Warrior. He is just constantly putting in work.
Ooh, Sam from Instincts looking to make a play, looking to get the wraparound with the AUG, I believe, on Vengeance. So keep your eye on them as they do have a little 3-1 split. Instincts, talk about a consistent lobby, though, Matchroom. Like, the top 4 teams still alive, except for Pier, right? But consistency is on point. Toxic with the P90 getting picked apart right there from Worst Horror.
There's just too many targets, too many enemies. All of them are coming after them. Instinct is going to make the push. Worst Warrior is going to go down, should feed that information over to his teammate. Now, how do Instinct opt into playing this? They yet again have a path into circle. They're committing into reses, and it looks like they're just going to shift over, play along the east, and creep up. Kurai, though, this is harsh for Vengeance. They already held out. Kiros on one side of this one got himself a fun gun to play from. And Crown, where do they go? They have to move across the entirety of the circle with 2 different squads with far easier paths, and both of them that are going to have vision on any approach Vengeance can take.
Yeah, and Vengeance, their priority is to try to take out M249 because they are so close on the
This fight,
leaderboard,
though,
and now they're going to be getting some assistance from Instincts.
This is your time, Vengeance. You can come up and flank behind everything that's going on. Kiros and Crown are caught up in a fight amongst themselves. Crown starting to spot out what's going on, trying to go for kill points, realize the fact that this is a desperation position. Spots out Kiros, and this is the fight right now, trying to see if Vengeance can stay alive. 1v1 between them and Team 249. We have Instinct still sitting on 4 members up. It's a matter of who can get the kills as everybody's making the run in. Blue Zone is coming out after everyone. Crown tries to drop down, but there is nowhere to go. Mexican up on the top of this one. Crown's going to go down himself, but Kiros trying to fight it out. Finally, it happens, and Instinct picks up their victory.
Hey, let's go Instincts, getting that win here in this game. This squad has been consistent all evening long. This is what I want to see. The tuck and roll from Crown right there to avoid getting ran over from Sam. But at the end, getting shot in the process.
I like how Kiros is just huddling behind the tree, watching the car run over the person he was trying to shoot, and was like, well, I know what's in my future right now, so opts in to trying to go for the fight instead of feeding a point over to Blue. And I think that's just due to the fact that we are looking at the top 3 spots moving forward, and these teams feeling pretty comfortable knowing the fact that M249 is in that mix as well. So not going too sweaty and just saying, hey, we're going to deny points.
Love watching the barrel roll, man. And I feel the frustration. When you're a driver and you're trying to get the run over and somebody just rolls out the way, it's hard making that U-turn to try to connect and get them. And remember, top 3 make it to the grand finals. First place 3,000, second place 2,000, third place 1,500. But if M249 continue to be up there, that means that 4th place slot will get that grand final spot.
But not the cash. That feels this is a good thing for M249 though, because we've talked about this a lot. The capabilities to continually evolve their meta and playstyle, start cementing their drop locations, and if anything, it frees them up to just be on the search for cash. That's going to be so big. If they can start to create some type of war cache to work around, to get their tools prepped, to get every single thing that they need moving into the grand finals, that's going to give them a leg up in such a big way.
What a consistent lobby, though. Like, we keep seeing the same names show up in the late game. And now that we get towards the later half of the evening, it's going to be tough, right? It is going to be tough for these teams who are trying to qualify. I think they still have, 2 more games to go, so they still can make a comeback and have an insane performance. But it's going to be an uphill battle here, Matchroom.
It's been a literal uphill battle for a lot of these guys because they're trying to just crawl their way up hilltop upon hilltop to fortified positions. I do have to say, though, it feels like we're starting to see a very big line of separation. So with these last 2 games, the guys that are in the bottom 4, They have got to just pull everything out. You've got to have the biggest games you can possibly get. Every fight you need to be a part of. You've got to be third party.
Yeah.
You've got to be instigating fights. You've got to be all over this map.
Yeah, and I feel like if you are, like, say, at the very bottom, that point spread is going to be quite large. So with only 2 more games, maybe try a hot drop. We saw it yesterday from Vengeance, and it worked out pretty well for them. Right out the rip with the P19, able to get a couple elim points to get the ball rolling. So if you are one of these teams at the bottom, I think now's your time to try to implement a different strategy.
Also, I just want to say I feel so happy for Instinct. They multiple times make it into the end game. Finally, that was like this boulder on their shoulder while they were trying to move forward in this, because just to get that close and get denied time and time again, especially when in the game before this one they had the advantage position, but it just slipped through their fingers. Now they should be able to play a little bit more confidently.
So Vengeance, though, 2 more games matchup. Vengeance, yeah. I need another win. I started today saying, hey, Vengeance, gonna walk away #1, but M249 have been just slowly creeping and crawling. I believe they were able to take that first place spot we saw on the live leaderboards this game. And I think the one issue, I spotted it out, the one issue for Vengeance is Crown has not been able to get the P90 here tonight. Last night, Crown had the P90, easy, GG, that's a game, give them the win. But tonight, they have not been catching that luck. And I talked to Spice, and they told me yesterday the first 2 games they played passive. It didn't work out, so they flipped the switch and they went ultra aggressive. They're doing okay. They're doing a good job tonight. But what if they flip that switch in these last games? Are we going to see another Vengeance like we saw yesterday?
We can flip switches left and right, but the next switch that's going to be going on is to our other casters, and that's going to be Toffees and Porosaurus to walk us through all of the amazing action and highlights.
With 4 games done and only 2 left to play, it's a must-win for SNE and Syntax as they struggle to keep up. Instinct, on the other hand, has been doing nothing but improving as they do manage to get the chicken dinner, though I think maybe not the win in the last match. But that's the story for the scoreboard. Now, the last game, a story for the highlight reel.
Love the highlight reel. And yes, you hit the nail on the head. Instinct, after 2 consecutive second places, finally get that chicken dinner. But it was, I would like to say it was hard fought, but it wasn't really. They just played it smart, played it quiet, played it low until the very end. And when, to be honest, they actually did a very good job of forcing M249 and Vengeance to fight amongst themselves and just being the third party.
I agree to a certain extent, and at the risk of sounding too negative, I'm going to counter a little bit, Poro, because I think they're being too passive. Even the win they came out with only had 5 kills. M249 had 13 kills in that match, and right now, if Instinct does this again and again, and they manage to advance to the grand final because they were in 4th place and M249 already made it, it feels less like they're the Sharks and more like they're the feeder fish.
They are definitely leaving a door open for SNE and Syntax by not going for those kills and kind of relying on those placement points. But you can see it's led them into 3rd place, so you can't take that away from them. Pure Love, meanwhile, after a nice little hot start from them where we saw them get a 2nd place finish and then 1st, obviously, in game number 3, it really hasn't been much else than that. So we'll see if they're going to have to feel that the heat on their backs of their necks and if they try to turn things up here in the final 2 games.
And when you saw those numbers, that is exactly the story right now. Syntax and SNE will be keeping an eye on them in this match because both are about 16 to 18. And if they don't win this one, their hopes and dreams kind of come crashing down. So we will follow that story as it develops. And also we're going to follow along as Porosaurus introduces us to yet another new state of mind.
One more for the day. We're going to talk about ballistic shields. Now, these are mobile ballistic shields. You can set them up anywhere, but that doesn't mean that you should set them up anywhere. They are definitely tools that you can use, and we've seen a couple of times here today being used in very good situations. Like, for example, if you're a sniper on the top of a hill and you find yourself in a peak battle that's with somebody that does have that hard cover, you can drop that ballistic shield, use that for reviving or even getting involved in these peak battles, as you see Jason using one to get that res onto sleep very comfortably there. So definitely an item that can find many uses, and I can't wait to see how our top tier players try to use those to their own advantage.
And I hope that you guys at home can think of a way to use it to your own advantage, because we have 2 more open qualifiers and 2 more influencer qualifiers coming up over the course of the next 2 weeks. The winners of which get to go to a $200,000 grand final. So go to esl.gg/new state mobile mashup to get signed up and get your chance to get in the game. We're just about to get back into the game with match number 5 in a minute. So let's pull up our casters. It is Mustache Dave and Matchroom. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you a very simple question, and I want to hear both yes or no. And this means you too, Matt, because I know you love to waffle. SNE, do you think that they can make the move to 4th? Dave?
Yes.
I like it. Matchroom?
No.
My man. I love it. I love it. I love it.
They didn't waffle.
What do you think, Poro? What do you think?
Sure.
Sure.
I
why
believe.
not? It's fun. Well, you know what? We're going to head out. You guys watch SNE, see if they can pull it off. Good luck.
Two
I
more
hate being
games.
the bad guy there, Dave. I hate it.
Nah,
I hate it,
nah.
but I just haven't seen the same SNE that we saw on day 1.
The thing is, weren't you the person who called them today to be a team to qualify? So how are you gonna flip the script on SNE, man? What happened? What happened from yesterday
We
to
haven't
today?
seen the same technical pushes coming out from them. They were very synergized whenever they would go for takes. It feels like right now they just can't find where they want to be in the fight. Where's the drone use? Where's any of the things that we saw that were their keys to success before this?
Well, 2 more games, right, Matchroom? 2 more games, so this is do or die. This
I
is
wanna
do
be
or
wrong.
die.
I
Me
want to
too.
be so wrong.
Well, no, not me too, because I said yeah, actually. But yeah, I hope they can do something, right? And you know what? On the bright side, if they can't, they're still next week, and then the week after, Matchroom. And if they sign up and play next week, I can see them definitely qualifying then, even in the influencer with Choco Taco coming on up. So we'll see. And get into this game. Port, dude, I keep talking about Port. I was watching the VODs the last 2 days. Nobody goes to Port. Come on, it is free, it is clear, and it is stacked to the rim with loot. I promise you. So, man, the feels right now. See, if I was SNE, I would be going Port all day long right now.
Here's the thing. We've seen most of our plane paths coming in from the eastern approach. This time it's coming in from the west, so everybody's having to push to the east to try to get back to the areas that they find comfort in. The circle still leans with the Bay, with Port in play, so these long drops going out to the east could have consequence. BIS is still trying to make their way over to Anchorville, and we have had to see that M249 still wants to commit into Exhibit Hall, but it's taking them quite a while to get over there. This touch of time that's just dragging on is going to be potentially detrimental whenever they have to rotate back into what's going to be a very eastern gatekept circle.
Yeah, and M249, they could afford the risk, right, with pushing outside of circle number 1 early. BIS, on the other hand, going to Anchorville, we see them 7th place overall. They have 8 total points with 4 elim points here tonight. I don't think they can afford risking it here this game. I don't think they can afford risking the fact of being gate-kept moving forward. So we'll keep our eyes on them. But what's over here? Raw Materials looking for their first kill. Can they get it? They got it!
They did it!
First kill of the tournament, or of today. First kill of today. The momentum, Matchroom. This is Raw Materials' game to come back. It has to be.
Is it happening right now? See, Toffees didn't ask us if Raw Materials could make it.
Are you asking me?
I'm not even talking about that one. We're just going to leave that one alone then. Okay.
They got a kill. I'm happy for them. Let's see if they can just snowball from here. All right. You know, because this is what we talked about post-game last game, is that these teams, Burn in Silence, Raw Material, Syntax, with 2 more games to go, they cannot afford to continue to play how they've been playing in the beginning of today. They need to change it up. They need to try something outside of their comfort zone and see if it works. At this point, you have nothing to lose. If you have only 5 points and you need to catch up to 4th place, now's the time. Now's the time to just pull out whatever tactic you want to call it and just roll with it.
The problem that we're seeing is a lot of these teams are playing so passive during the earlier sections of the game. We were seeing a lot more momentum shifts, the snowballs yesterday. We were talking about that in the last game. Whenever you're playing ridiculously passive and you're hoping that you can make it to the later stages of the game, and then that's when you're going to fight or whatever, if that's your strategy, your whole strategy depends on where the circle goes. It doesn't depend on what you're doing, because then if the circle hard shifts the complete opposite direction from you, congratulations. What's your strategy now? To try to figure out another way to make it in the circle, but still try to not fight? Sooner or later, you have got to pull your trigger and take the fights that are around you and make people react to you instead of just watching the fights.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do, right? And now's the time. Now's the time. Syntax, one of those teams that got to do what they got to do. They're going to be near Trailer Park when we just saw them a moment ago, right up close to Vengeance.
Look who's being aggressive in the early game. It's Vengeance, who has an idea on where Jay White is, and Syntax is already having to leave this position. Look at the bullying. Look at making somebody play off in a different angle. This is what you want to do. Throw people off their game consistently.
Vengeance. They got the scope. They got the scoop. They got the intel. Syntax on the retreat, on the run. They already lost 1. They're probably looking for some drone credits to get that green flare to call their teammate up, and maybe even a vulture to zoom on out at Trailer Park. But with the 2-2 split that Vengeance have going on right now, that to me tells me that they are looking to be proactive. They're looking to get these early game elim points, because right now Vengeance, they see the leaderboard and they see how many points they're behind M249. I bet you, Matchum, they want to get this match under their belt and they want to overtake M249 because they're looking for this cash money here tonight.
Is this the turning point, Dave? We are seeing
This has to be.
Jay White went to Trailer Park. Is this the turnaround time? They've gone to the home that you say is the best place to go. Caveman has managed to sneak over there as well. E-Man was pretty far to the west, opposite side of Primrose. Didn't make it Trailer Park, but at least now a 50% chance of victory since they've made it to Trailer Park?
Maybe. It's because of the two-seater motorcycles. You know, you
Exactly.
get that. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. And E-Man, very interesting position. Yeah. E-Man for me is the insurance policy for Syntax. And when I say insurance policy, I'm talking about trying to survive, right? Trying to survive to get these placement points. The thing is, with 2 more games to go and with the amount of points that Syntax need to catch up, I don't think they can be playing with that insurance policy in mind. They need to be playing with getting the squad wipes, getting the elim points here, and making sure to just get points in general throughout the whole game, not just the late game, Matchroom.
You can see how many teams are afraid to come into this zone right now, and because they're wary of gatekeeping that could be going on. So that's why we're seeing really teams that are opting to move a little bit more aggressively right now. They're going to find some favors in it. I do have to say, while I was just a little bit mean to S&E,
yeah,
this might be a very good game for them if they can get those kill points together.
S&E right there, bam. S&E right there, bam. Then they might have some sight lines here to possibly get some elim points on those teams making their way on in. And then the next zone right there on the edge. So definitely going to be in a strong gatekeep position, because we talked about it a couple of games ago. Right here, the swamps, so challenging to rotate through with all the broken branches, the water, the boulders. Your vehicle comes to a standstill. But E-Man, the insurance policy, oh no. Trying to group up with their teammates in Trailer Park. Crown. Oh, yeah, this is Vengeance. Are they going to connect on E-Man?
I think he's made it, though. I think he's managed to get away, and so he should be able to regroup. I also do want to point out Cross just drove right through the middle of M249, who's trying to make their rotation. So the rest of the Pure looks like they might be eyeing a very heavy northern wrap. Several teams starting to send it to the center. S&E is already moving in. We saw BIS make a shift in. That did make Raw Materials have to step away from that position as well. So Instinct is kind of our non-moving factor at the time, as Vengeance should have a pretty simple path into this circle.
Ooh.
A lot of teams are opting into a northern shift, a very long wrap through the blue, through the hills to try to get up here, but that could make Primrose popping off real fast.
Yes, sir. And one strategy that we've been seeing with these green flares early game are teams actually calling in the green flares from the blue, right? And that's exactly what Syntax just did, as E-Man pulling up with the vehicle, probably looking for the pickup, but they were able to successfully call in their 4th team member.
Oh, no.
So they're back in it.
Oh, no. What's going on? S&E? They're running some type of split situation. BIS's Voxel's already spotted out one. There's 2 teams that are getting stacked up on top of S&E in this rotation. The rest of BIS, it's also going to be M249. They're going to be entirely caught out. Razzy's going to have nowhere to go, has to hop out of vehicle. This is just a plethora of players that are running right into this position that S&E needs to have a good game. Now, go for the shots, get something out of it, maybe stop and just start to spray something down around you. We're starting to have several fights breaking out, as even in the Northeast, it looks like we're going to have a spicy thing starting to build up between Vengeance, who is catching out a gatekeeping team.
Yeah, they did get separated, like you said. Razzie super split from their teammates after that rotation here. Little 3-1. Razzie is going to be right there on the coast lines, the port across the way. So there's some nice cliffs to work with down there as well for hard cover and just to kind of play the long game. So I do like Razzie's position, but the question is, will their team members, their teammates, try to group up and take up that spot that Razzie was able to claim?
Raw Materials is very centered right now and did a good job of defending that position, forcing the other teams on different parallels away from them. So they managed to hold down that position that is fairly defended, specifically even to the west. All those teams had to shift into those positions just due to the fact that they did a great job on making sure to spray vehicles as they came in. They were very loud, they were intimidating, and so now are going to be rewarded with a centered position. The question is, can they continue to take these fights? Can they take the shots in, and can they get some kill points on the board, because they desperately need it as well?
Who, Raw Materials? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, they're very centered right now. And they held that position.
I like the spot, but I don't know if they're in a position on the overall leaderboards to just be turtling up, right? I feel like
no, that's what I'm saying. They need to be
proactive. They need to be just in vehicles. If they see an enemy or a team, they need to just push. Like, there's no other option right now. They're last place on the overall leaderboard. Top 3 is the goal, and for them to be so center and just turtle up like this, that to me, you're not going to be able to get enough points to catch up here, Matrim.
We'll have to see how people are trying to move around them. The fights did stop over on the eastern side, so looks like Pure did get the separation away from Vengeance, and everything's kind of settled down into quiet. People are now seeing how the next circle is going to pop. Just a few seconds before we get there.
Syntax are all the way out there. They're still in Trailer Park.
Trying to loot back up.
Yeah, looking for the loot still. You have to assume, though, they're going to be taking a good amount of damage all the way out there at this point in the game. And, you know, when we're looking at them moving forward here, they're probably going to look to rotate through the north. But we have teams on the edge who might be able to spot them out and gatekeep them. So I don't know if this late play is going to play off.
I understand the mindset on it, but it goes back into what we were talking about, being more proactive at this stage. They lost a member early, so they generated credits, got back over there, called in a res, and then waited probably for them to get their situation in better order. This means that they're coming in no information. Massive amount of meds that have been burned. Circle does pop, stays pretty centered, does shift away from Primrose, but that means the fact that we are going to see RM still fairly centered and should be able to control this. But there's probably going to be several teams that might have to opt into Ascent. Most notably, Vengeance could do that. Pure, we know, will potentially try to do it. And Syntax, it's going to be coming in with no idea where to go.
Yeah, they're just looking for a spot right now. But now is a nice opportunity for them to just YOLO send it, because other squads are also going to be looking to reposition after this next circle shift that we just had. But Syntax, they're going to be driving through both Pure and Vengeance, right in between the sniper battle that was occurring.
That is the worst place to drive through. Is White's going to go ahead and go down, and now the gauntlet is going to continue. E-Man did manage to pass through it. Coach also managed to pass. Caveman has had to stop because having to figure out some way to make something work here. Cross has also hopped into a vehicle, tried to scout it out. We did see RM scare him away, but no kill points really popping off for them just quite yet. So the continued press comes in, and everybody getting closer and closer into that centered position where Raw Materials does have vision, but it is a very, I guess, safe lineup that we're seeing come out. And now finally it might be a threat that's going to be landing too close to them. They have got to be able to take this one. This is where their entire livelihood hinges right now.
Yeah, this is going to be Instincts looking for the wraparound. Ooh, they're going to be dropping off 3, then sending another for that pincer maneuver, a.k.a. Sam, the playmaker here, up against Raw Materials. Sam gets spotted, connected on, but the trade equal right there, Matrim.
This has been a very slow brewing fight. It looks like Loki is going to commit into the res. Mexican goes down, and we're starting to see more control shift into Raw Materials' favor. Now, just one up for this team. Instinct has got to regroup. They cannot escape. So maybe go for a spray onto the down member. You can see that Loki didn't get a chance to fully commit into everything that he was trying to get there. Throwable's now coming out. Now the meds have gotten reestablished, and here is the problem.
Just wow, right? Raw Materials already 40 limb points here in this game. They might be able to get that 5th one here. Molly, gonna be burning them down. Here comes Loki with the Vector, with the long barrel on it. 5 limb points. This is the best game so far for Raw Materials, Matrim.
BIS now in last place with these leaderboard shifts. Do note that Instinct does have a 20-point lead right now on SNE. as well as Syntax. But this is their opportunity. With them going out early, if they could string together some kills of their own, they have the opportunity to now maybe catch up to Instinct's position.
Yeah, that's a good call right there. SNE with 2 more games to go. Instinct's out. Yeah, there's a 20-point difference, but the point is they have the potential, the opportunity now to possibly pop up, get a lot of kills, and even the win. That will help close the gap moving into this next game and last game.
This is pretty bad right now for BIS, having to contend up against Vengeance, who is looking pretty hungry right now, and it looks like the meal that they're wanting to feast on is going to be BIS. They're starting to pick up more information as they move. This is a very urban-based fight, as it's going to be BIS right down in the south, just kind of caught up in those last couple of buildings, and it's going to be Vengeance slowly spreading out, pushing in and forcing them to group up more and more, and that just means that there's going to be higher impact with throwables the closer they get compacted together.
Yeah, and Spicy does have a green flare, but I assume they're not opting to call it in yet because BIS, like you mentioned, so close to him. Next zone goes up. Raw Materials looking good, baby, up there in the north with the compounds, with the high grounds. They're going to have at least 3 teams rotate right in their direction, but Spicy with the long grenade. Looking to make the connect. Now the grenade was good. Oh, 2 Spicy with the shot here.
And this is the problem for BIS. These guys know how to fight, and they are going to execute. They see the opening. Now they're just trying to take a moment to get themselves together to make their move in. They should be able to spot out Mercy making this shift. It's going to be Crown running right next to Spicy. He does go down, but Voxel does get spotted out. So very quickly exchange between the two. Spicy moving in, very aware of where the rest is going to go. Peeks between, he's going to go down, and now there is just 1 member up for Vengeance at the time. It's going to be Worst Horror, though, who we know can pop off at any given second.
Yeah, I was able to call in a last-minute drone here, and Spicy face check and a Vector in the doorway. Just not the move, not the weapon you want to be doing that up against. And Spicy was the one with the green flare too, so also unfortunate for them to go down right there, Matrom.
I'm kind of curious to see how Worst Horror is going to play this. It looks like we're going to see BIS hop in vehicles. So if that happens and he hears this movement, he doesn't look like he does. So he's just going to take a vehicle and abandon. Now all eyes are turning into Raw Materials position. They've got all of the vision inside of this circle, and they are going to have to defend it. That means that a lot of these teams have now committed into edge fights. M249 are looking into Syntax right now. They've been exchanging a couple of bullets between them, but no big, clear, I guess, firefighting capabilities have come out for this position. You can see everybody has just leaned into the edge, and nobody wants to go anywhere near Raw Materials point. And that's more and more kills that are being denied by this little bit of a ledge of a hill that everybody is trying to play on the opposite side of.
Yeah, and just a big yikes too. M249 still alive. Jason with the tried and true Tommy gun. Going for that spray down to Lost Horror, connecting onto Lost Horror, and there goes Vengeance here.
You still see Syntax M249 getting closer by the second. Pure looking like they might be eyeing the push into anything that Raw Materials is trying to get together. But okay, M249, you've got the opening, you've got the knock. Now it's just time to make the push, spot it out, gonna continue going, spots it, gets it, cleans it up, new circle pops. No one happy about this one, finally leaving Raw Materials position, but no more safety hills. It's just about trees, it's about rocks, it's about anything that has been destroyed in front of you to try to use as cover. Firefight Central is about to kick off.
Yeah, and M249 are just going to steamroll the rest of this game. They recognize Vengeance are out. That was that team that was right behind them for that first place position. Pure has such a large point gap that now M249 pretty much playing with nothing to lose here this match, and everything to just gain when it comes to destroying everybody else's hopes and dreams for possibly racking up some more cash money here tonight.
Okay, okay, Raw Materials. I know the fact that you're trying to hold back what's going on with Pure Love, but you can see that they need to make sure that they're holding more firing angles for it. They're just waiting for them to make the push in. And I like that. At least start prepping up along the wall. You know the car is going to be coming, but you need to be in that spot already. The spray is now starting to come out from Hope, connecting a little bit, but not enough to get the necessary knocks out of it. They're just going to jump out, but that's going to give them the chance to unload. There it is. Spray comes out in a big way. Teams finally finding their feet. And now it is just Cross, the last one up, that I would not be surprised if he just gives this one over to the blue.
Yeah, deny the point, but we got to give it to Raw Material. Their best game yet. We talked about these bottom teams. They had to change something up in this next game, and Raw Material is doing just that, Matrim.
M249 is still feasting in the south, finally finding some connecting shots onto them. Raw Materials doesn't have the capabilities to make the cross that they want to make, but Cross is starting to find a cross of his own, sneaking up back behind this. This could absolutely demolish Raw Materials in the chance. You can see moving their cars right now. Looks like they're trying to prep for it. Cross is going to come in right back behind him. Does get spotted out, does go down, but that's going to stall just enough of what they were trying to pull together. Now they're running man down, right with their backs against the blue into a fortified M249, and that is just not going to work.
Yeah, M249, look at that. The zone, bam, bullseye right on top of them. So Raw Materials have a challenge ahead of them if they want to get this win.
They have made themselves a climb, though, now moving up 3 spots. They can try to work their way forward, but they're going to have to firefight their way out. The next circle has popped and definitely favors M249's position as Kid Kat just used the M249 itself and unloading into Raw Materials position. It looks like they're going to try to use a vehicle. The blue is doing a massive amount of damage to them. They can't even get situated. It's a full-on spray from M249, spots it out. Kairos just doubles it up. Sleep getting a tap into that one as well. And now just one member, no smokes to be had, gonna go down. M249 now picking up even more points and that first place position.
As if they needed more points to secure their spot for that 3,000 US dollars here next game. Now, Vengeance, they're gonna have a tall task if they want to walk away in first place coming up next. But Raw Materials, I feel like after this game, I could say if they have another performance like this, 10 elims, maybe even that first place spot, they are within range to pull off a Hail Mary here and possibly get that 4th place spot. Because remember, top 3 go to grand finals, but because M249 fan club are in first place, that means we're going to be looking at that 4th place spot, which is going to be that cutoff for that grand finals position spot.
And it's all coming down to this next game. All the tension is starting to mount on these teams. The pressure is just starting to get nigh on insurmountable for some of these guys. They're going to have to put up some of the best games that they've ever had if they want to get into that top 4 position. M249 is giving them an extra opportunity being in the lobby, so that way they just have to make it into the top 4. They don't even have to make top 3. So they just have to crest this last little bit of a hill. But can those others that are already in the top 4 continue to gatekeep them out and not allow them to get the points that they so desperately need?
Yeah. Another pop-off performance like they did this last game from Raw Materials with 10 elim points, and if they can get that first place, that'll be 20 points. Now, there's a lot riding on the line for other squads as well, but that was Raw Materials' best game, and we talked about this throughout the week, is how momentum plays a big factor with a lot of these players and a lot of these teams, and what we tend to see is after a really solid game, the next game, because the lobbies are starting up so quickly, they can just roll over with that confidence that they were able to acquire in the last match.
Momentum carries over into every other game to start it off, but what starts off every game is also going to be Porosaurus and Toffees, who are going to give you a breakdown in all the good that happened in that last game.
Welcome back. As the penultimate game is now in the books, it becomes a fight for second. M249 wins their second game of the day and locks up a good spot at the top of the board, making it a chase for everyone else. My name is Tavis. I'm joined by Porosaurus. One game left to play, but before we break down the end of the day, let's take a look back at the way the last game went.
Highlights! See, I beat you to it. Raw materials, baby. It took them 4 games of time to get set, but once they decided to turn it up and shine, they shone indeed. 10 kills for the raw materials gang. Will it be enough? I don't know. Probably not.
How many kills did they have before this game, Poro?
None. That would be 0. 0 on the board and 10 in one game. Absolutely not a performance from them. But in the end, I mean, look, M249 had a fantastic position, and there wasn't really a whole lot RM could do about it.
Yeah.
But you know what? They got their money where they could.
Also, I just wanted it was an enjoyable end in the context of the way that M249 played this. They locked up a good spot, and then they literally, I think they just basically, each of them took a smoke assignment and unloaded magazine after magazine after magazine, and there was no option. RM.
What do we say, Toffees?
Accuracy
through volume, baby.
100% of the time, and they turned that volume up to 11 as they come out with the win. 78 points for M249, Vengeance at 55, Pure Love right behind it at 47, and then Instinct at 40. And keeping in mind, it's a race for second because there is more money on the line. Sure, the top 3 get to go to the grand finals, but there is hundreds, if not thousands, depending on where you finish, on the line for that second through fourth place position. But also worth noting, Poro, Inns got out early in that game and opens the door because Syntax, Raw Material, and SNE are all in positions now where a good game with 10 points from the Vic Chicken could put them in the mix to be up in that top 4. So just in case it happens, I would love it, personally, if you would walk us through the tiebreaker rules just in case it comes up.
I would absolutely love to walk you through those tiebreaker rules. There's several of them. Most likely won't get past the first or the second, but the first one being obviously overall kills will be the first tiebreaker. The second one, highest points in a single match, and then you can see highest eliminations in a single match as well. Then when we cut over even further down, highest eliminations in the most recent match, and then the highest placement points in the most recent match. So we've got this covered all the way down, 5 spots. Probably won't need to make it past the first one, but in case we do, those are your tiebreaker rules.
I like that KRAFTON is that prepared, though, just in case. 5 layers of backup plans. I think some of these teams could benefit from that sort of preparation. Now, if you guys think that you've got the preparation to go the distance, you can still sign up. We've got 2 more open qualifiers and 2 influencer events coming up that will have spots that you can earn to get to the grand final play for $200,000 in prizes. ESL.gg/New State Mobile Mashup is the way to go if you want to be involved. Now, Let's get two more gentlemen involved right now with the matches. It is Mustache Dave and Matcham, our casters who've been here for the entire journey. They've seen the absolute chaos. Gentlemen, the plane is in the air. This is the moment after this game. We crown a champion as well as the three that get to go to the big show. Take it away.
Hey, this dude, the energy. Shout out to Toffees right here. The energy. Yeah, one more game to go. I'm looking at Vengeance. I know M249 up there at the top. They have a huge point buffer between them and second place. But Vengeance, come on. You said you were going to finish strong here today. Walk away with the money. Let's see what they got here in the last game of the evening, Matchroom.
I mean, they have definitely put their money where their mouth is. With a little bit of trash talk coming out from them, that means the fact that we are going to see it followed up on, and that's what I want. You know, you want a little bit of spice added to your games, right? And somebody coming in saying the fact that we are just going, everybody needs to be watching us. They aren't in first right now, but they have had a phenomenal day of kills that they've managed to put together. M249, though, has just been putting in a phenomenal day, and there you go, Dave. Vermont and all the credits that are going to be had.
Dude, between Vermont and Alamo, these two landmarks are just stacked with drone credits, and it looks like Syntech's going to be dropping Vermont, so this is huge.
Dave, Exhibit Hall, two teams going there, M249 and Vengeance? Are we going to see the return of the opening hot drops coming out from Vengeance? Is M249 going to have to pull off their drop? Yes, they are. They're going to have to move to Anchorville. Vengeance coming in with a statement saying, yeah, no, we're not going to make it that easy for you.
I feel like M249, since they have so many points in first place, even if they got taken out first here and got 0 points, they would have still been first place. I don't know. But yeah, pulling off, going to Anchorville, going to be getting some loot. And I would assume they're going to try to take the fight with Vengeance here as quickly as possible.
This is such a big fight for these teams right now. You can see that's going to be BIS and SNE. Circle did leave this position, but this is a potential start to a climb up the leaderboard that both of these guys so desperately need. Burn in Silence finds themselves in last place moving into this game. They thought that they were pretty comfortable before this, and now suddenly, due to Raw Material having a phenomenal game to kick off everything, these are our bottom two teams fighting for their livelihoods right now and right against each other. They know the fact that they have not had time to get their loot situation the way that they wanted, but it's all going to be about low economy firefight from here on out.
Yeah, we can see across the way Hyper with the DP, so they're going to have a little bit more ammunition with the 7.62. Santi with the Scar, both players aware of each other's position, but Hyper a little separated from their squad mates. Hopefully they'll be able to get some decent sight lines and get that support for them here. What an intense battle to start things off, because these two teams, they need to both win this fight to even have a chance to try to get some more money here.
SNE might have the bigger opportunity just with that 5-point lead that they presently have. Gives them touching distance of instinct. But like the desk was talking about, you have to have a big game, but you also have to have either pure instinct to go out very early, and that just doesn't seem to be the case. They're already comfortably inside the circle. The only teams that are not are these guys and Syntax. So that means the fact that it's going to be, you've got to scrap, you've got to fight, and you have got to make sure you get it. And BIS Mercy finds the opening onto this, but Scooby's got himself a good angle, does get a return knock and a flush.
Ooh, look at that, Scooby. There's one looking over here on top of Mercy. Mercy probably looking for the confirm onto the Razzie over there. We can see Sam right plopped in the middle, Hyper with the Uzi. Now, I know both these teams are at the bottom, Matchroom, but I think they're going to be fighting for some additional monies here, because 6th place gets you $750 and 7th and 8th place gets you $500. So I think that's the objective here out of this fight, is just to try to win so they can walk away with some more money and some higher placement points, hopefully.
Well, there's also several weeks of play that we're looking at. Having a fight around here could also dictate drops moving in the later matches that follow this, because you know both of these teams have managed to get to this stage, so they have an opportunity to make it to the grand finals if they can continue to keep up the same level of play. They're not going to get first today. We know that.
Yeah.
But they can take a lot of experience, pick up different play styles, and realize how these other teams that are playing at their top of their game are playing. And that is in itself its own treasure that can be carried over to next week that can help them get a much bigger prize pool that is a physical treasure that they would love to have.
Yeah, and with how Instincts have been playing all evening long, that fourth place spot, I would say that's somewhat out of reach, right, for these two bottom teams. But you're totally right. Like, looking ahead, there's still so many opportunities for them to sign up in the influencer events and the Open. So this fight could be the deciding factor on who gets to pretty much stake Bay Area for themselves, because I have to assume we're going to see both these teams playing next week as well, Matchum. You have to assume. They did so good this week, right? Like, they made it this far. That's a win in its own right.
Especially at this stage, starting off as an esport, it's going to take some time to figure out exactly how everybody else plays. Like, the way that you come in that you think is the quote unquote most effective, and the meta can shift around through this, and you're going to pick up new things to learn to make your play style more improved. You can see somebody do something that you never thought to do that fits perfectly with how you want to play the game. And so as we go forward, we do have some winners that are going to be finishing out this week to qualify for the grand finals. But that also means the fact that some of these guys could be picking something up and next week could be able to compete, if not beat, these guys.
And you also have to think on an individual level.
Ooh, a Rez here?
Some of these players, if they really stood out this week, they might get picked up and build another squad next week, right, to try to qualify. So I think trying to really pop off here on an individual level is just as important as trying to pop off as a squad here.
This is a ballsy Rez, to say the least. So I think with as hunkered down as BIS is, it's going to be on Voxel, who is very, very close to what's happening here. Mercy does get vision of the so much further away. Blue Zone now starting to catch up to this firefight. And it looks like while the ballsy play was pretty offensively in the face of BIS, they are going to be able to get this player down on the ground and maybe have a second to loot.
In the blue. Doesn't hurt too much here early game, but it is still going to be ticking away very slowly. And if we look ahead at getting in some vehicles, electric vehicles, their batteries are drained. So the blue definitely plays a factor moving forward. But both BIS and SNE, they committed so much time already to this fight that only one team's going to walk out alive here. There's no pulling off this now, Matchum.
Yeah, this is a fight for pride more than anything else. Throwables now definitely in range as these two teams are heftily stacked on top of each other. Only one team is going to walk out of here, if that. I mean, there is a decent chance that they could just destroy each other to where nobody is going to come out the victor. Right now, it is going to be SNE that has inside position and is kind of gatekeeping. You mentioned it before. Vehicles are not really an option anymore. You're just going to have to foot push. The new circle does pop, and it hard shifts away from what's going on here. So this has got to be the fight. Mercy trying to get the firing angle, does manage to connect. SNE trying to get more aggressive, is going to be punished for that. It was the play, but the opposite angle was just too good for BIS.
Pulling up here, Cry cooking that grenade, gonna be tossing that grenade. Hyper trying to group up with their teammate, get the pick up on the Razzie. Sam just firing with the M4. Yeah, Voxel definitely getting sandwiched here very shortly, but they really haven't been making any movement. So I don't know if their position is compromised yet.
I don't think so. Voxel's been very quiet here for a very long period of time. So he has a big opportunity to just pop up and take out one of these members, but it's been a constant handle coming up from everybody that's on SNE. Voxel knows, but he is just watching his teammates die. You've got to make some type of play here to assist your team. Sure, you don't have the best angle for what's happening back behind you, but what's going on in front of you, you could at least mitigate Sam. You can throw somebody off their game. Him just stepping up and getting a knock right there, and suddenly they realize that there is somebody on top of them, could change the entirety of the way SNE is going to play this. Waiting for that time to take the shot. Sure, he's listening to footsteps. He thinks that he might be in the building, so that's why he's not going for too big of a peek. He's waiting for them to come upstairs, but that's not happening.
Yeah, I'm surprised Sam didn't hear that heal right there. They are so close to each other. Both teams just getting chunked down slowly right now from the blue, but it is definitely a matchup. And I'm telling you, it is definitely going to be applying that additional pressure because they know they need to take out the other team. Then after, immediately heal, and then immediately find a vehicle. I don't even know if they have a vehicle on hand yet to evacuate the area and get into the zone.
M249 as well as Vengeance ended in a position that we're very close to each other, but we're going to stay with what's going on with this right now. The Nox exchange there should be able to be reset, but we'll pop back into the circle and follow all of that action in just a moment. We're kind of caught up in the storyline as it goes. I do have to say that PIS Mercy has been putting in a massive amount of work through these games, trying to open up opportunities for the rest of the squad. And now just down to 2, I almost feel like they might be just deciding to play safe, play quiet, and hope that the other team just moves away from them and gives them an opportunity to get out of this position.
Yeah, it looks like Mercy pulled back a little bit and is just on a desperate hunt for some heals right now. And okay, SNE, they did find a vehicle and they are pulling off of that one. So we'll keep tabs on those 2 squads as they're going to have a challenge making their approach into this new zone. And Instinct, once again, in a position to possibly gatekeep their enemies out here. That's going to be Vengeance over the hill. Looks like Vengeance are pushing M249.
Sleep. This could be big for you. Steps up, gets the spray into one of them. He's got the perfect angle into Vengeance, but they spin on it beautifully. Just one member up for M249. Vengeance got themselves a big game and going for the spray to say, no, you're not allowed to do that again.
Yeah, shooting the loot crate there. I think if they want to ramp up the VM a little more, maybe throwing an emote with it. That's what I like to see moving forward. And M249, they got that solo on the complete opposite end of the zone over there in Cornwall. So M249, they're going to be pulling out that insurance policy we talked so much about here in this tournament. And they're going to try to get their solo to maybe call in a green flare or just go for some placement points because M249, no elim points this game.
People got to be scared. Vengeance has now won a fight against M249 on that hillside, and Spicy is roaming in a car just trying to figure out who's in what positions. They are very centered up. They've got a high ground point that they're playing from as well. And you can see a lot of these other firefights are kind of contained on the east of where we saw the hillside that Vengeance just got that victory at. So over here, we've got teams that are all just stacked up, clustered so close to each other, but no clean sight lines. This could be problematic. See if they're heavily shifted western circle.
Ooh, it looks like Vengeance are catching some heat here, and Vengeance do have a lot to lose. Currently in second place, $2,000, but they need to maintain that second place. You got Pure and you got Instincts hot on the case to take away that money from them.
Bush is now coming in everywhere. Instinct knows they need to win this fight, but that's not the good start to it. Narrowly surviving. Sam Mexican now. I have to put it, I like this. I hear footsteps. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to spray. I'm too low on life. This could be a problem. The rest of Vengeance, though, now hears that spray, and that's going to reveal position. They know how they're wanting to push this one now, starting to get the double up together, and it's just a matter of time till they peak the right angle. Actually, a good shift out of this one, as it does look like Instinct has managed to counter move around. This throwable could be big. It lands right in the pocket. Doesn't connect in the way that they wanted it to. And this is a ton of Vengeance players all up in Tox's face. Sam is going to get some shots into it. And now we're starting to see some connections come up from Instinct, but it's going to be going down. And it's getting to be a big, big problem.
Just a little bit, right? I mean, look at that. 60 points for Vengeance. We got Crown with the Tommy gun just spraying through that window on top of Sam. And Vengeance, their goal right now is to continue to survive, continue to rack up these elim points, and continue to get a nice little buffer between them and Pure Love in third place.
I think that they might have their eyes set on the prize of first with the way that they're making these moves. This was hyper aggressive. They could have moved so many different ways. They heard this firefight and they're like, no, we know the fact that it's a big leap to try to get there, but we just want to fight against M249. They're weak. They're not going to be able to get a lot of points. So let's see what we can string together now.
Look who's making moves over here. Look at this. Raw material. This isn't something they would have done in games 1 through 3. But last game, they had their best performance so far. Last game, they had almost 2,000 damage done. And the 4 games before that, around 600. So it looks like they are being proactive. They're going to be pushing towards Vengeance. Vengeance now stuck in a sandwich over here in the town.
Syntax also getting a very centered position. Pure taking the area that we just saw Vengeance at. BIS did survive, did rotate through everything that's been going on. Kairos, last member up for M249, in no rush to take into the circle. So really, it's just about what's going on in the city itself. With Pure now being a referee position and all that is happening, it's going to slow down the aggression that Vengeance was trying to bring to everyone around them.
Yeah, we do have Horror with the green flare, but calling in one of these at this point in the game is going to be a free point, right? You have to assume.
There's only 12 people around. It's fine.
It's fine. both players with DPs, though, back against the wall. Raw Materials Loki with the mini. I'm impressed with just how proactive. I know Raw Materials no elim points so far, but I am impressed with how proactive they're playing here this match.
They have a very good advantage position as well. Moving more aggressively into the city itself to get more involved in these fights is a good play. But once this finishes, they can actually step more centered just by moving to the east. And they've already got that entirely under control. So you can see they're trying to defend it up and make sure that these movements that are happening around them are much more contained. The problem is we are just seeing Vengeance being able to navigate it time and time again and move oh so closer to their members, and that's going to become a problem that is mounting by the moment.
Yeah, when we're looking at Vengeance, I am concerned that they're down to just a duo, though. It is still fairly early in the game, just looking at all the other players still alive.
It's
okay,
a scary
there's
duo,
another
though.
point. Yeah, it is a scary duo. There's another point right there, but I'm pointing this out because Pure Love, that is a team that is trying to fight for that second place, right? They're trying to acquire an extra $500 US, and with Crown, Crown getting taken out right there. Sam looking at the cross lines between Horror and Crown. Do you go for this pickup? We can see the smokes from Horror, so it looks like they are going to attempt to, but this is as risky as it gets, Matrim.
There are two teams holding opposite sides, not even shooting each other. Goes for the dodge and gets there. Are we going to see anybody push up back behind him? I don't think that BIS is going to make the committal into that. While this is happening, we do see that there's going to be Raw Material that was just that little bit more to the east, having given up their player. Circle pops, and it heavily favors Syntax.
Wow.
Praying for a good game, but all the fighting is going to be happening in the city where they cannot get the points.
Yeah, what a huge circle for Syntax. And Pure Love immediately popping in these vehicles, looking to reposition in the zone. Vengeance going to be catching a break for the time being, but still, that zone, if they're looking at the mini-map and they're looking at their pockets and trying to add up the US dollars they're attempting to win here in this match, this is not what Vengeance wanted to see.
Kairos also seeing a team run right in front of him as it looks like Pure Love is going to land very close to SNE's position. Kairos perfectly content to let them go. I think Cross got a read on what's happening there. Going to stop up, use the hillside, so Kairos might have vision into this. And Raw Materials sending it right along the path here, could find themselves with either an opportunity to crash into Syntax itself or could find themselves a target of SNE. A lot of teams now starting to make that similar move. Raw Materials doesn't even stop. Instead, goes to the hillside and is now shifted to the opposite side of where we see Instinct playing.
Oh, dude, Vengeance also called back in Spicy, so we'll keep tabs on that. If I'm Raw Materials, Matrim, I'm going to be in my vehicles and I'm going to be just driving for those runovers. I mean, that's what you want to do, but instead they're going to be playing the edge here, playing the safe route. I get it, but Raw Materials, they had such a good game last game. I want to see them continue with that. And, well, talk about playing the edge. BIS, saw them early on. They're going to be cruising over there for bruising, but Hyper peeking a little too hard right there.
This is just going to be the name of the game for oh so long. If there's not a ton of cover, hillsides, trees, that's going to be what people are working around right now. Raw Materials still trying to play that hillside, but it's going to be Instinct that has themselves a little bit of a compound that they can play from and look down onto what's going on. They have got to be cautious, though, as it does look like they're about to have a new friend that rolls up. While the tunnel visioning was happening down the hillside, guess what? Oh, what? Vengeance still on the hunt for more kill points is going to run up right behind.
Ooh, Sam going for that M4 spray. Trying to take out Fang Yu. Hyper. AKM. Yeah, this is what I want to see, though. So Spicy was the player that was called in. Looks like they did lose Horror in the push. But look at this little 2v2 up against Instinct, a team that's trying to take away some money from them here.
You do have to remember Spicy just got called in, so he's not going to be in the best of positions. You said the fact that you wanted to see RM make some roams inside of a car. Looks like that might have just happened there.
Hey, let's go.
Now, here comes the push. Slow and steady wins the race, but you've got to be careful of these throwables. Mexican trying to make sure that he can stop onto him, but not getting exactly what he wants out of it. Sam saying if maybe his position might provide a little bit better. Nope, not going to happen yet again. Now, how's the return volley going to go? They should have a rough idea on the positionals. That one might connect, and it does. Crown manages to line it up beautifully. Mexican in a lot of trouble as here comes the two-man push. He gets the shots into one. It was a little bit distorted. Going for the spray. Crown on no life. Mexican still sitting on a ton. This peak battle is not going in their favor. He spots it out, and that is going to be a big pickup coming up for Instinct.
Wow, yeah, what a great defend for Instinct, and that's going to set them up. So they have their eyes on the kill feed. They have their fingers crossed that Pier get taken out, because the difference between third and fourth is $500 here, Matrim.
And it is achievable. With the way that Pure is playing this, they've got to be cautious in and of themselves. Raw Materials is doing a lot of work, taking shots at pretty much everything that's moving around them. S&E still aware of the threats that are constantly persisting around them. Burn and Silence just roving around the southwest part of the circle, just seeing if they can run over somebody, get into some type of fight, or get control over what's happening in all of this chaos.
Pier out. So look at that. Look at the scoreboards. That push from Vengeance might have helped Instincts to get a little more money here. Instincts, they have the potential to get that third place, Matro.
Raw Materials still trying to put in work, but there's just not enough points to be had. They're just going to have to ransack everything around them, and I still don't even think that would be enough. They are starting to find their feet, though, and you like to see that, because that gives them hope for what's going to be happening next week. There is a big potential trying to pick up those here, and whoever wins this into that next week qualifications that are going to be going down. You can see now it's going to be Syntax trying to hold back a desperate Instinct who wants so much just to get a few more points. They don't need to scrap together a massive victory. They just need a little bit. The new circle is popped, and Syntax is between them, and they don't know how they're going to get there.
How unlucky. And then you got Raw Materials on the high ground, right? I mean, we can see the leaderboards. Instincts, they don't need many points to overtake Pier to get an additional $500 US, but they have two different teams looking right on top of them. Raw Materials, though, two of their members making the crash. Yeah, that's going to provide a nice window for Instincts to pull up right behind them.
Koba's trying to hold this angle, and that does open the door for Instincts. Are they going to take the opportunity that has been presented? E-Man still holding the angle back behind them. Raw Material still has one member also watching over everything that's going to be going on. Sam finding an angle into this is going to get knocked as well, and the slow, steady push coming out from Instinct. It's going to be K-Man jumping right between. It does get taken down. That's going to be another point being fed over. Mexican trying to make his way through this one, but as the zone is closing, a spray comes out and connects. E-Man picking up a big one. Sam now knows, looks in, spots it, peeks back around, but his position has been revealed. Instead, looking like maybe he was going to try to go for the car, maybe going for a do-si-do, trying to stay alive in it, but all the action is happening right here. E-Man moving out is just going to spot so much of the action, and everybody's getting torn apart. It is just these two teams. Raw Materials managing to spot out everything that is going on, but in the end, it's going to be a pickup at the very tail end to get so close, but not going to get into that.
They might be tied. They might be tied. This was so quick at the end. The Tommy guns, the M4s, everybody just popping out the corners. Raw Materials, though, let's go. Last game, a massive game. 10 elim points, second place. This game, they showed up here once again. Where was this Raw Materials all night long matchup?
Yes.
Where have they been? Hey, I appreciate that they showed up at the end of the night, but where has this squad been all night? That's my question.
This is the way you want to play. They finally figured out their success, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to risk it all in these earlier games. And once they realized that it was just desperation to try to get in the top four, that's when they started playing their most effective. take that same mindset, take that same hunger, realizing every point is important moving into next week, and we could see them just showing up in a massive way.
Well, talking about points, we got the point masters. Let's bring them down. I got the rope. Here we are, Toffees and Poro. How's it going, fellas?
Hey, we're back, but let's get right to the important bit of business. It's standing times, guys. Let's see who goes the distance. My name's Toffees. I got Poro. I got Dave. I got Matchroom. And now I got scores as soon as they are ready. It's going to be awesome because the top 3 teams get advanced to the grand final. $200,000 of money on the line, and it is going to be Vengeance, Pure Love, and Instinct that make the advance. Or because M249 had already qualified in the last event, Instinct gets to move forward, even though there was a tiebreaker. So I'm glad I had you talk about it, Poro, because it almost came into play that Pure Love and Instinct ended up neck and neck with their points. Didn't expect that. And a big shout out to Raw Material, who comes up at the very end. 0 kills before the penultimate game. And now look at them. They all grows up. They all grows up. They all grows up, Poro.
Man, I'm telling you right now, Instinct needs to be so thankful that Raw Material didn't turn on until the final 2 games, because I mean, Raw Material was doing exactly what you want to see from a team that needs to climb, right? They were being aggressive, they were being active, they were going out trying to find kills. Syntax, S&E, a little bit kind of camping a little bit for the late game, trying to wait for that late game to come to them. Raw Material, meanwhile, was just going out. And going back to the early games, I think it was just because Raw Material kept running into Vengeance in the early game and getting wiped, and that was just kind of what put them behind the 8 ball. But 9 points, all it took to get to that top 4 spot. I hope we see them back next week, man.
I think we are seeing that. We're seeing teams kind of get their feet, develop a little bit, match them. They're sort of learning and evolving. And Raw Materials, maybe they're cooked materials now because they finally put a little bit of gas to this play and are doing a lot better. Do you think other teams, have you seen other teams start to do that?
We've seen other teams, I would say, almost suffering from the success of others. A key example of that is you guys were asking me about S&E. This is a team that I came in very hyped about, but I didn't see them lean into their strengths that got them to the stage. And it feels like they're a very high economy needed team. With like all those drones, all that other stuff, that costs credits. And you got to win fights to get those credits, specifically in the earlier stages. I do want to say how impactful Vengeance was time and time again in all of these games. Because remember, Instinct was trying to climb up, and it was going to be that firefight that they managed to get a hold of inside the city that got them a lot of points. If they had lost there and gone out early, we might be looking at a different leaderboard.
You know, you brought up that you picked them early on. Who picked M249? Which one of you knuckleheads said M249? I know it wasn't me. Was it you, Poro?
Nobody.
Dave?
I was Pure Love.
I was Vengeance.
Well, none of us knuckleheads picked them, and that's a little egg on our face.
They already qualified.
They already
Well,
qualified.
that's what
they
I
already
thought,
got the
right?
ticket. So it's like, you know.
So what does that say, Dave, to the rest of the field and everyone else out there when M249 has technically, I mean, they won. They've won both events so far.
Well, what I like to say about Vengeance, I guess I can turn it to M249, Toffees.
You can talk about Vengeance. I don't care.
They're just good. They're just good. M249 are just good. And congrats to them. You know, they already got that golden ticket to the grand finals. They played here at this Opens, and then they walk away with the $3,000 US. So they are getting a ton of competitive new state experience. They're getting some money. And to me, they're just preparing for these grand finals, and they're getting the best practice possible here for them.
I'm going to stick with you for a sec, Dave, because I know you've been working with mobile a lot and have a lot of experience with the pro scene in terms of mobile events. How impactful is equipment in terms of the things that players play on? And will that money, the ability to spend 2 weeks maybe getting something that has a better processor or something like that, does that have a big impact on their ability to win, do you think?
I guarantee you they are upgrading after tonight, man. Even though they didn't get the check yet, they are charging that card and they are upgrading. So that's a fact, dude. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing them grow as a team. M249 fan club, they've been really showcasing us some really solid just team synergy as a whole. You can really tell that their team comms are on point. And I like this last game, how they demonstrated the fact that they didn't get too thirsty, right? They had their eyes on the bigger picture, and that was when 3 of their squad mates got taken out real early on. They sent one teammate on the opposite end of the map just to survive. So if this was a team that was just trying to show off, they were trying to get some clout, just get those highlight montages, all 4 of them would have died in that fight. But instead, they had their eyes on the bigger picture, and that's being the best team in the lobby here, Toffees. So these little things all add up, and they had one hell of a week. Let's be honest.
I love it. I love the idea of looking big picture, and let's do that right before we leave. I love final thoughts. This is the end of the first Open Qualifier, the end of the first week of North American New State competitive play. First ever, meta establishing, super exciting. So I'm going to go down the line and get each of your takes on this week or what you're looking forward to next week. Porosaurus?
Yeah, I'd love to start it out. I'd say some of the teams that didn't make it this time around, in particular, Syntax. Syntax, I got to tell you, man, their meta and their rotations, the positioning was fantastic. It was just trying to find a way to capitalize off of that. So going in from this week, from this experience, that experience is going to be fantastic for all of these teams that kind of fell below the cut line. I really, really hope that we see them back once again, because I think there's a lot of really good stuff to build off there for them as a team. And if not, maybe they can just mix and match and try to get a new team in here, because I think there's definitely a lot there, and I hope we see them again.
I dig it. Dave, final thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Porosaurus 100%. If you did not qualify as a team, you have so many more opportunities. Do not give up. And say you didn't feel that comfortable on your current team that didn't qualify this week, go reach out to these players who also didn't qualify and try to form another super team. You might as well, because there is a ton of opportunities online to qualify for the grand finals, and there's a ton of money to be had, to be won here in New State Mobile Mashup, Toffees.
Nice. And Matchroom with the last word.
I just got to say, do your homework, guys. That's the big thing that you need to be doing. Look back through the VODs, talk to your teammates, try to figure out what went wrong and try to figure out ways to cement that. We've been talking a lot about, specifically I have, about S&E and the way they slid down. Figure out, okay, if it's an economy issue, what can you do to fix that? Maybe Vermont is your drop. That's where Dave loves to go. If you're somebody like Raw Materials, turn it up at the end game. Be more of what you saw in these last 2 rounds and don't show that same level of hesitation. I just want to throw this out here, by the way, Toffees. While I was mean to S&E, I did give some gas to Raw Materials in that game. And I think that Dave was saying the fact that I was crazy for doing so. I don't know. I might be right there.
You're still crazy. All right, you're still crazy. Raw Materials, all right, you did good 2 games, but hey, it was a fluke. Everybody else was already big chilling, so relax.
Being right and crazy are not mutually exclusive. You can be both, and in fact, I prefer to be 90% of the time. Also, you got to love, the resident dad says do your homework. That is excellent advice. Guys, gals, ladies, gentlemen, everyone watching, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This marks the end of our show. 4 teams have been crowned or given tickets to the grand final. Who will be next week? Don't forget to sign up. We're going to be back. We've got more games. We got Choco Taco joining us next week for the Influencer event. But until then, my name's Toffees. On behalf of Porosaurus, Matchroom, Dave, 7 Worlds, Godspeed, the entire production team, and everyone at KRAFTON, thank you so much for watching. And until we see you next week, play more New State.